The races. We are proudly with you today by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, check out americasbestracing.net today. Live racing from the Big A here in South Ozone Park, Queens, as well as out in Hot Springs, Arkansas, Oaklawn Park. We will bring you their feature coming up later. The Tinsel Stakes seems appropriate as we look at some holiday decor in the Aqueduct Paddock. We also have $1 million in purses between two New York Stallion Series races. Thanks for joining the program. I'm Maggie Wolfendale alongside Sarah L. Bodwee. And Sarah, we'll start by talking a little bit about the Great White Way edition of the New York Stallion Series Stakes, as it is worth $500,000, and it is your ABR Race of the Week. And we have some legitimate players in here. I feel like some concrete form to go on, which sometimes is at a premium when we're dealing with these lightly raced horses, and a lot of people taking shots for the hefty purse that comes with this race. But BD Saints, as well as Brick Ambush, who we'll get to in a moment, they seem like legitimate runners, especially BD Saints, who ran really well in defeat in Sleepy Hollow last time out.
Yeah, I mean, he was a horse that was compromised at the beginning of that race and had run a little bit more on the turf throughout his career so far than on the dirt. But we'll take a look at the start here, where you can kind of see him have to steady back and end up losing that good early position. He's in last early in this race and does end up rallying to finish second after that poor start behind his stablemate. We'll take a look at the head-on, where you can really see him kind of get sandwiched back by one other horse that was sort of heading towards the outside. And I think that that really did cost him a better placing in this race, because he ran on so well to ultimately finish second to a decent horse in El Grande O.
Right, who had things his own way up on the front end, just taking the field gate to wire in that mile distance. And we'll see him rallying wide here. He's even green down the stretch, where at one point, I think he jumps a puddle or something. I mean, he's running on well despite that break.
He is. I think that you have to give him a lot of credit. Even though he hasn't won a race yet on this surface, he certainly comes in with the best proven form so far. You can kind of see that greenness there that you were speaking of as he switches back to the inside lead. So I think that he's the clear horse to beat, but there's a full field of some other interesting alternatives if you're trying to look for somebody underneath or possibly to use in your exotics within that race. But I do think BD Saints is the horse to beat.
I'm sure a lot of people will pay attention to Brick Ambush, who comes in here off the back of a maiden score by open lengths. And his trainer, Danny Gargan, has cited that for this son of Laoban, they have been pointing to this Stallion Series Stakes, kind of taking each logical step. Nice timing in between races, about a month since we've seen this victory. And he was a horse that was incredibly green in his debut and actually really ran on well late, had a big gallop out. He showed more speed, stretching out to the mile, and puts away this field quite nicely.
We're waiting for a lot of these horses to take a step forward today, and at least with him, you know that he's already shown that he's capable of doing so, improving quite a bit, going second time out, so you are at least aware of the ability that he can make those changes and improvements going forwards, whereas others might be needing to take that step forward today, so definitely a player coming into this spot.
And like we mentioned, trainers taking shots. Well, Horacio De Paz and Rudy Rodriguez will send out first-time starters in the New York Stallion Series Great White Way. But that's just the tip of the iceberg for what we have on tap. As always, today's races brought to you by Claiborne Farm. We'll bring you the late pick 4 races 7 through 10 from the Big A. And we'll also jump on over to Oaklawn for their 4th. Their late pick 5 does begin in race number 6. And also that cross-country pick 5 sequence includes these 2 stakes from the Big A, as well as races 7 through 9 from Oaklawn Park. If you want to play along with us, make sure you do so with your Naira Bets account. If you're not a member, become one today. And you can earn that $200 deposit match bonus when you use promo code MATCH200. Head on over to NairaBets.com for all the information. We'll get down to the paddock here for today's 7th race at the Big A. It is an allowance field going the 6.5 furlongs, and we do see number 5, Savings Rate, who is looking to go back-to-back after breaking his maiden first time out as a late 4-year-old. But for more on this field, we check in with the man with the plan down in the paddock, all-time leading rider here at the Big A, Richard Migliore. Hey, Big.
Hey, Maggie, thank you. And we'll start with the 4 Oceans Reserve, son of Speightster. He's a horse that's been running hard all year, and he continues to carry really good weight. It doesn't seem like he's showing any ill effects from a pretty strong and comprehensive campaign. His last race might have been his best yet. And I just totally taken with the way he looks. When I walked into Paddock, he was the horse that jumped out at me like a shiny copper penny. The 5-horse savings rate by Speightstown, sire of Speightster, the horse inside of him. He's a horse that ran big on debut. He's a nice-looking horse, very well-balanced individual. I like the fact that he's kept his composure so well. It's something I really lean on extensively when horses have run big or run their first race, how they react to it, how they act coming out of it. And a lot of times when a horse is well-prepared, they handle their first race a lot better than if they were kind of rushed into it. Obviously, he comes from a good barn, and savings rate, no knocks on him whatsoever. And the 6th best bet, it's a Brad Cox trainee. He's shipping in from Kentucky. He's just got an incredible coat on him. His coat and the 4-horse Oceans Reserve coat really stood out. So best bet, Oceans Reserve would get the Paddock check marks and savings rate. Certainly looks like he reacted well off of his first effort.
All right, well, good things for the layoff runner coming back in here for Brad Cox. And I thought a positive, Sarah, that despite this horse running fast figures and maiden special weight, they had to drop him down for the 75 to get the win. And then we see the 1.5-year layoff. But you would almost think that it'd be logical to run him for a tag after winning a maiden claimer and coming back off the bench. But they opt to go to an allowance field. And maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I thought that was a positive, especially for Connections and Gary and Mary West, that if they don't think they're much, they're more than willing to drop them.
No, I think it's a vote of confidence. I mean, they were willing to offer him for $75,000. He did not get claimed and taken away that day, which, as you said, was quite some time ago. But I like that he does at least come back in a spot rather than coming in for that sort of red flag drop that we might see. And while he's not taking much money right now into what seems like very logical short-priced horses, including your favorite, I worry about him coming back a little bit because Brad Cox is a trainer that has excellent stats all over. He doesn't have the best numbers off 180-plus days here with non-maidens. He's only 2 for 27 over the past 5 years, so I took that as a little bit of a negative.
All right, well, fair enough. We do have riders up in the paddock. Can't get enough right now of that horse right there. Number 5, savings rate. Here is his debut, in which he did take money in that race for Chad Brown, but rightfully so. I'm not exactly sure who he met. We'll actually oddly see the 3rd place finisher, Excellent Men, today at Oaklawn.
Yes, yep. A horse that actually had an insane trip in one of his starts at Laurel. But yeah, savings rate was able to get the job done this day. It remains to be seen what kind of field he was facing, but he earned an 82 buyer speed figure for that effort and could take another step forward. But he's now almost going to be a 5-year-old, so you kind of wonder at a short price.
Here's your post parade. Begins with number 1, Disarmed.
While he's been in 2 off-the-turf races in his last 2, he's actually run pretty well in both of them against some solid state-bred company.
Huge long shot in here. Number 2, Letty.
A horse that would need to run a little bit better than we've seen recently to be competitive.
Here's a first-time gelding. Number 3, Shipsational.
Started out his career as an interesting 2-year-old and faced some of those state-bred stakes, but hasn't been quite the same since.
Current second choice, number 4, Oceans Reserve.
Huge race last time out, earning a 91 buyer speed figure, finishing second by a nose in a track that definitely favored inside speed.
8-5 on savings rate. Can he go back-to-back?
Remains to be seen, and some other horses in here have run faster races than him, so he's taking a lot of money based on that first race.
Big warm-up for the horse you mentioned. Kind of chilly on the board and best bet.
Yeah, not taking much money so far. He has run faster races, though, than your current favorite.
Here's number 7, Just Call Ray, probably coming off an effort which was enhanced by the track.
I agree. Finished second that day at a huge price, but to his credit, he did have a second place finish in his last several races before that.
Yeah, he likes to finish second. Is number 8, Cushion Bridge, consistent type.
He is, and he has the recency on a horse like Best Bet as well, and he has a win last time out.
Another huge long shot is number 9, Bezos.
What's happened to his early speed? Because he used to be a horse that was always reliable to be forwardly placed, and lately he hasn't been breaking out of the gate quite as well and has kind of been trying to change up his running style, and that's just not something you love to see.
No, I agree. It's like when they lose their early speed, they're losing races and heading in the wrong direction. As that is your field for today's 7th race. There we go. With a minute to post. If you want to play along with us, make sure you head on over to naira.com/TV schedule to download your free Equibase PPs, and you can follow along with us with all the stats on the horses, trainers, and jockeys. Now time to welcome in the 4th member of our team, Jonathan Kinchin.
Thanks, Mags. Look, I'm going to land on the 3. I think the 5 is the most likely winner. I was going to pick the 5 here, but at 3-2, I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting to talk about the 3, Shipsational. This is a horse that showed a bunch of talent as a 2-year-old, a bunch of talent as a 3-year-old. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, was on the, showed up well, hit the board twice in 2 Derby preps, the Sam F. Davis and the Tampa Bay Derby, then took a lot of time off. And he never really kind of came back to that form. He hasn't won in quite some time. However, when you're looking at horses that have talent and hoping for reasons for them to kind of go back to that talent, you look for sometimes some changes, maybe a trainer change, a rider change, a distance change, a surface change, or the ultimate equipment change. He was gelded. And to me, that is something that potentially could lead to him finding what he once was. And at 20-1, I'm willing to figure it out.
Can't blame her for taking a long shot in here, JK. That's kind of one of my favorite angles in racing. Is
the first time gelding?
Yes, ma'am. As we'll check in with Richie for his thoughts on the New York bred consistent number 4 Oceans Reserve.
Yeah, Maggie, I could not get past the 4 Oceans Reserve. I loved him when I walked into the paddock, and I continued to love what I saw in his warm-up. He just really checking the boxes for me. Again, this is a horse making his 9th start of the year. He's been running consistently well all year. He's a horse that has accumulated far more seconds than wins, but I just couldn't get past his physicality. The 6-horse best bet, I like the way he looked in the paddock. I will say this, once he had the tack on and the rider was up, he does look a little bit heavy, and he looks like a horse that will benefit from a race. Also, the fact of the matter is, I don't look at times of works as much as I look at spacing of works. And he worked on October 22nd, then he worked November 3rd, then he worked again until November 24th. And I just, there's not enough consistency in his works, and looking like a horse that maybe can need one to get to an optimum fitness level. I'll just kind of take a little bit of a pass there. The 8-horse, Kunshin Bridge, horse that did not stand out all in the paddock to me, really elevated in the warm-up. He really caught my eye. It just looked like 2 different horses from the paddock to the warm-up. And the 7, Just Call Ray, watching him warm up. I love when you see a horse get that big extended trot. And he just really had almost an over animation to his stride. And it really caught my eye in the warm-up, and he is turning back in distance. And maybe that'll intensify his closing kick. But I couldn't get past the shiny copper penny in the 4, Oceans Reserve.
I'm with you, Mig. And Sarah, we talked about it. Oceans Reserve, he arguably maybe was taken out of his best running style because Javier Castellano seized the bull by the horns because that's the way the track was playing that day. You wanted to be inside speed, but to be fair, he did let the eventual winner up the rail.
He did, and he's a horse that generally has come from off the pace in more of his recent races, so I think that it was an astute ride that read the track correctly to give him his best chance to win. He ran very well, so I kind of wonder where he ends up sitting today if he goes back to more of his usual tactics of coming from off the pace.
Very interesting race coming your way as we head up to Chris Griffin for the call of race 7 here at the Big A.
Bezos. More turn. Bezos moves forward. And in. All set. They're off. Good break for Disarmed. Right out to the front. Bezos shows early speed as well. And in between horses, here comes Best Bet to join the early tempo. It's now going to be Disarmed and Best Bet. They go at it 1-2. Bezos settles off of them in 3rd. Then Oceans Reserve. It's a tight hold here. Savings Rate. Savings Rate wants to go. It's just wrangled back in here. Is in the 5th spot. Going to be mid-pack. Kunshin Bridge is in the blue cap now. In the 6th position is to the outside here of Letty, who's towards the tail end of the field. Then comes Just Call Ray, who's going to be second to last with the early trailer. Shipsational 22.34 for a pump pumped up opening quarter mile. Disarm's got the lead. Best Bet is ready to challenge. Here comes a 3-wide run from Bezos, and Bezos is coming up on the leaders now, is looming up on the outside in the green cap. Just off of them, Ocean's Reserve, now more settled. Here comes Savings Rate, who's still in 5th, not called upon yet. As they approach a quarter mile left to go, the front 3 are getting away. 45.32 for that half-mile time, a quarter mile left to go. Battling on is Disarm. Best Bet, Bezos at a big number, 53-1, is out in the center of the racetrack with some momentum. Disarmed is still on that rail position. Ocean's Reserve is emerging as a danger. Here comes Ocean's Reserve as Disarmed is now put away Best Bet. Bezos battles on in between horses, and Ocean's Reserve grandstand side. Ocean's Reserve to the outside of Disarmed down to these two. Disarmed is very game. Disarmed is still there. Disarmed is your winner at 9-1. Disarmed over Ocean's Reserve. Then came Bezos and Shipsational in a photo with Cushion Bridge. Final running time. Woman at 16-1.
I feel like he's a bit of an overachiever at times, Sarah, and he has been complimented by the racetrack, but he earned this win today for his 5th win of 2023 for Rudy Rodriguez.
I think maybe a little bit overlooked coming out of those state bred off the turf races, but as far as the New York breds that he was running into, I mean, finishing second to win for gold, and then defeating a horse like Z-Bear and even Factually Correct, I think that you had to take him a little bit seriously coming in here. Now, I didn't pick him in my top 4, but at the same time, he wasn't worth completely dismissing, and this was a nice aggressive ride from Ruben Silveira, because something we talked about beforehand, Bezos used to be so fast early, and he just does not have the same early speed as he used to. So while he was up close today, he used to be the one that was always confirmed to be in front.
He actually ran pretty big at a huge number, 53-1, settling for 3rd with Lane Leslie aboard. At least he got him out of the gate. I mean, that's all you could ask for. Shipsational rounding out the superfecta, but it is Disarmed on top of Ocean's Reserve. No show effort from Savings Rate, who backed up readily around the turn.
Yeah, he just never really did much running throughout the entirety of this race, and neither did Cushion Bridge either. So Shipsational for Jonathan Kinchin, rounding out the superfecta. I know you had some interest in Ocean's Reserve, who is so consistent, just settles for second again today.
As you pointed out, though, he needs a 7. Just needs the 7. 6.5 too short for him, as we will head on over to Oaklawn Park for their first race on the program. It is the 4th coming up, optional allowance, 6 furlongs. We'll also have the prices and results, official ones for you from the Big A here on America's Day at the Races.
Nothing stood in his way. War of Will won the Preakness.
At the line, War of Will, that's a photo for the win. Hey, 650,000.
War of Will, standing at Claiborne Farm.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here on Fox Sports 2. It's America's Day at the Races, and we are brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm, standing such great stallions as Warfront and new future stars such as War of Will and Silver State. As we are over at Hot Springs, that's a somewhat ominous looking sky over there. Fair, Sarah. Maggie Wolfendale alongside Sarah Al-Badwi as we see horses on the track for today's fourth race over there at Oaklawn Park. Optional Allowance going the 6 furlongs. And we kick things off, as we were pointing out in the break, the very tall number 1 League of Legends.
We were interested in this horse and how he looks, but I'm not really interested in him on paper from what we've seen so far.
Number 2, another price in here for the coach, Major Blue. We saw him up at the spa where he got a win 3 back.
And he ran into a good field last time. I mean, he was facing the likes of Nighttime, who ran back a 91 buyer last night at Turfway, so coming out of some good competition.
The nearly gray number 3, Walker's Win, who was wired by a 1-2 shot last time.
His one Oaklawn race was a stakes race for Skelly, so maybe can forgive that poor performance there.
Here's one of the major players, number 4, Runaway Jack.
He's just so consistent. He's never finished worse than second in 8 starts, a 4-time winner, and riding a nice win streak right now.
That's impressive. Never finished worse than second is number 5, Life is Hard. Coming off a poor effort, I thought.
He was. He has some back races to get to, including a second behind Cogburn this year, but last effort, not so good.
Here is a graded stakes place runner that just went by, Classic Car Wash. We'll talk about him in a moment, but here's a very speedy number 7, Super Ocho.
Yeah, a horse that has 2 consistent races coming in off an effort in Maidan, so certainly kind of the horse to beat.
Longest price on the board is number 8, Manuelito.
Does come off a win, but that was at Horseshoe Indianapolis and just facing a better field in here.
Steve Asmussen already with a winner on the card. They took the second as number 9 is Blue Light.
I will say that 2 back, he did defeat Frosted Departure, who did come back and win the feature yesterday. So maybe you kind of overlook that poor performance last time out and think if he can get back to some of those other races, could be a factor.
Frosted Departure earning a 99 buyer for his gate-to-wire win yesterday, but so pleased to welcome in another member of the team, Paul LaDuca, as he's standing by Trackside at Oaklawn. Paulie, are the skies as ominous as they look on camera?
Well, Maggie, you know as well as I do, the skies are always ominous here, and everybody always makes fun of me wearing my jacket out here, but I know when that sun comes down, cold is coming. Dwayne Lucas, that was one thing about Mr. Lucas. He gave me some great advice. Keep your jacket on, son, because when the sun goes down, it's going to start really to get cold down here, and that's what's happening. But actually a beautiful day. Now, the racetrack was labeled muddy to sloppy to begin. It does have a lot of moisture on the racetrack. The sun has come out periodically here and there. Some good news from yesterday, though. Eduardo Gallardo is off his mounts today. You see Chris Landeros is on Runaway Jack. Unharmed. He went to the hospital, got checked out, and he's just body sore. Him and Chris Landeros, who were both involved in that, and both horses came out okay. So great news. Both riders and horses after that spill yesterday are okay. Okay, let's get to this race. And, you know, listen, the 7 in here is the horse to beat at 7-5. When you're able to clear after breaking 8th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, you got some speed. So the 7's going to be out winging on the front end in here, and they're going to play catch me if you can, I would think, with Julien Le Peru, the son of Dubai Sky. You know, Sarah made a good point. The 4 Runaway Jack, you know, they put blinkers on this horse. Horse sort of had second-itis, right? Blinkers went on, and boom, the horse has been popping a little bit and been running very well. 3 seconds here at Oaklawn Park. Does have 2 seconds in the wet, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then I thought the 6 Classic Car Wash was very interesting. You go back to that race on October 21st. He went wire to wire, or basically wire to wire, kind of laid off. So he gets basically a very good draw. You know, this horse was second to Tappet Trice in the Tampa Bay Derby. He went on to the Bluegrass, and he kind of lost all chance at the start. If he can get back to this and maybe, you know, getting back to sprinting is what he needs, because he was impressive on this day, and he can kind of compete with the 4 and the 7, at least on numbers-wise. He might be chasing the 7 around, but JK, I know you like the 6 here a little bit. Classic Car Wash, if he could repeat this effort.
Yeah, no, I do like Classic Car Wash. And I think if you look at his past performances and you try to evaluate his career, in his last couple of races, specifically 2 races back, the one that you mentioned at Gulfstream Park, that was his best race. But what changed that day? We talked about it earlier with Shipsational having that gelding, and that obviously didn't change him much. But as far as Classic Car Wash is concerned, what changed that day? And in my opinion, it was the Lasix. He got Lasix that day. He raced extremely well. Now, he was beat in his subsequent start at Del Mar, but he had a horrible trip. I mean, he was wide all the way around there, going 6.5. He probably almost went 7 by the time it was all the ground lost there. I think Classic Car Wash is the horse that you want in here, and I love the fact that you're getting 5-1 on the board.
Yeah, that is a generous price on the horse. It certainly has some back class in here, JK. They are heading into line. Super Ocho will likely play Catch Me If You Can as a 3-2 favorite as we head out for the first time to Matt Dinnerman for the call of race 4 from Oaklawn Park.
Runaway Jack, Manuelito, and Blue Light to complete the lineup. Here's Blue Light. We're ready to go. And Laroff. Another smooth dispatch. Life is Hard in the middle of the pack, sent for speed. Super Ocho matching him. Super Ocho with the head lead on Life is Hard, and Major Blue, who moves forward on the inside to claim third. Life is Hard taking it to the favorite Super Ocho as Major Blue is eased off them running in third. Blue Light is next with Manuelito, and then the Gray Walkers win down on the inside. 5 lengths off Super Ocho, who clears off from the competition, scampers 2 ahead into the turn. Coming back to Classic Car Wash, and the Pink Silk caught 3 deep within 5 of the lead, 5 better than League of Legend, and Runaway Jack well behind as they round the 4th turn. Super Ocho, the one to catch. Super Ocho, a length and a half in front. Life is Hard, Set Hard in the 2nd spot, joined by Walker's Win, who advances position inside. Major Blue 3 deep. Blue Light swings to the extreme outside as Super Ocho's still in charge. Super Ocho with about a furlong to go as a 2-length lead. Life is Hard chasing with determination, re-rallying a clear 2nd once again. Super Ocho 16th to go, trying to fend off Life is Hard. He's doing so at the moment. Super Ocho clings on. Super Ocho to score. Super Ocho gets it. Life is Hard was 2nd, 3rd home Major Blue, and then Walker's Win was 4th.
Well, he indeed just was too quick for this crew as Super Ocho was super fast today. I can't think of a quick Spanish word.
We tried our Spanish yesterday, and we realized that it was not good.
Yeah, Super Uno. Anyway, he was able to hold off Life is Hard, who really actually ran well off of a subpar effort at Hawthorne.
Yeah, you can kind of see that he rebounded into some decent form that he had shown a little bit of in the past. So good to see him back with another decent effort. But Super Ocho, just the class of this field and able to win as your favorite.
And able to see out the 6 furlongs is back here at Aqueduct. Disarmed was able to see out the 6.5 furlongs on the front end. Rudy Rodriguez gets another win here, this time teaming up with Ruben Silvera as they return $20 at 9-1. And a nice superfecta going forward. 10 cents, $455.90. As we will jump into the stakes action here on the program. Coming up next, it is a New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue Division. And as you can tell, we are getting in the holiday spirit here on the show, as we will be back with much more as we also kick off the cross-country Pick 5 on America's Day at the Races.
It's a domineering display by the ultra-talented McKenzie. McKenzie in a dominant performance.
200 right there. 1,200,000. 25, 550. Mitchell, 550,000.
And now 500. And 500,000. Thank you.
450, 75. 475,000.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
They say breed the best of the best and hope for the best.
Macoma broke well on the outside.
But you don't expect to get speed like this.
Is Macoma the one to catch? Macoma has a 5-length lead in this Grade 1 corner. Inside Macoma continues to battle on down at the rail. It is Macoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
Thanks for joining us here on America's Day at the Races. And it only seems apropos that with the Fifth Avenue division of the New York Stallion Series Stakes, we check in with 30 Rock, with the tree, with the ice skating rink. Christmas in New York is certainly a magical time, Sarah.
Have you been to the tree?
I have. Not this year, but I have in the past.
Oh, very cool.
Have you?
No, I haven't.
Really?
Really?
Wow. When I first moved here, that was like my first touristy thing I did.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to check out the tree. I still have yet to do the ice skating.
I am not a good ice skater. It doesn't ever look good for me.
It's not going to end well. New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue 2-year-old fillies going the 7 furlongs. We do see 3-1 on the horse that I suppose has the most established form that you can go on, and that's number 2 in here, My Shady Lady, who stakes placed and stakes faced as this will kick off the cross-country Pick 5 sequence, 50-cent minimum wager. And it begins here, and we'll go through the Great White Way as well as races 7, 8, 9, which it concludes with the Tinsel Stakes over at Oaklawn. And hey, we've got a ticket to root home today, and that's from you, Sarah.
Yeah, $40 play today, going deep in this race and kind of against the shorter priced horses because I just don't really trust your current favorite as well as another horse towards the outside in Solo Shot. I think there's a lot of interesting new faces in here or horses that are more lightly raced, and that allows me to single in the next leg. BD Saints I just think is the horse to beat, and it's either single him or use a lot of them, and to keep things affordable, went with the single. Heading over to Oaklawn, spread a little bit in a race that I think is wide open. I don't really have a strong opinion in, but I'm also singling Nautical Star, who I think is just kind of the horse to beat in that 4th leg. And then to close things out, Speed Bias is my top pick, but there's a lot of options, and I don't want to be left with a horse that I think is very logical and miss out to close things out. So 4 deep, 2 singles, wide open to kick things off, and hopefully we get through this first leg.
But despite going deep here, you are being bold and leaving out the 5-2 favorite.
Well, if I don't like a horse and I think that there's
you.
enough of a case to be made for at least 5 others, might as well.
All right, we need to check in down in the paddock with the MIG for who looks best.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting group and obviously a full field. I'm going to start with the 6, My Perfect Mistake. This is a filly that I liked on debut, but I thought that she would need a race, and she won despite that. And I was talking with Rob Atras after that race, and he was saying how he thought she might need a race as well, but his whole plan was pointing her to this, and he felt like she would benefit from a run. So I think she won first time out because she was talented, and I think she has a big forward move in her. She looks fitter to me. Again, I like how calm and relaxed she is coming off of that effort. I think she's very interesting. I know she ran a slow figure first time, but I don't think that tells the whole story. The 7, Book of Wisdom, has run well in every start. Just really well turned out. I mean, this is a Bilmont filly. You wouldn't expect less. I mean, she's really making a nice impression here. Doesn't seem like she'd have to push the throttle forward too much to be extremely competitive here. The 8, Walk With Me, won on debut for Dave Duggan. And this filly showed so much tenacity, so much fight, and you could see she just wanted to win. And I think she's got a forward move in her too. I think she looks fitter. She looks like she tucked up a little bit. I know speaking with Dave, he says she doesn't think she needs to lead. It just worked out that way. He said he wouldn't mind seeing her find more of a stalking kind of trip. And a first-time starter that I think's a bit interesting is the 9 elite status. You know, it's a tall order to go 7/8 and, you know, a fairly tough Stallion Stakes here. But she looks extremely fit. I like what I'm seeing from her. I actually did have the opportunity to watch her train one morning, and she kind of impressed me. And I just thought she was interesting, you know, starting her career here in this spot.
All right, daughter of Big Brown, elite status will debut for John Terranova. Dan was more of a turf horse, so half to a 3-time dirt winner.
And she's got a big work coming in here, two-back bullet work, best of 72 horses, and kind of a lot to pay for a daughter of Big Brown. So I think that she's a little bit interesting as well. She is on my ticket, and then when Richie told me that he liked some of the works that he'd seen from her, I felt better about including her at a big price.
Cool. You're, though, interested, and so am I, with a horse that is a maiden. That's number 1, Miss Lau, daughter of Lauban.
Yes, this is a horse that comes out of a race where we've seen a couple horses return and either improve or at least run well. And she comes out of a race where she was 4th behind Dolomite, a horse that was eventually the 3rd place finisher in the Demoiselle. So certainly has been facing some good ones, even though she hasn't won yet.
And she'll kick off our post parade. And two, kind of just watching her, she seemed green that day and also looks like a filly that was going to appreciate a little bit more ground, though she gets a 7 furlongs again here.
I agree with all of that.
Number 2 is My Shady Lady, your 5-2 favorite.
Yeah, I guess the horse to beat for some. I don't know. I've been a little bit disappointed by her last 3 races. If she gets back to her debut, though, makes some sense.
A little feisty, first-time starter. Number 3, E Stormy went by. Number 4, Big Long Shot Wilder Close.
A horse that'll have to improve off of that 2nd place finish behind Run for Your Honey last time out, stepping up in class.
Here is my here's Tourgette, who finished behind My Perfect Mistake first time out.
Yeah, 2nd place finisher, so comes in here as a maiden. The race got a little bit of a slow number, but they could both take a step forward.
Yeah, and here she is, My Perfect Mistake.
Yeah, goes out for the Atras Barn. Big price right now and was bet down to favoritism when breaking her maiden.
I don't know, from the TV, and Richie had good comments about her, but Book of Wisdom looked good for her, in my opinion.
She has hit the board in all 4 of her starts so far, kind of had that second-itis and then finished 3rd last time out. You won't get the same short price today, so maybe a little bit more appealing.
Walk With Me, does she go to the lead today?
It's possible. I mean, there's plenty of other speed, at least on paper in here, but that was an impressive debut from her.
17-1 on that debuter, number 9, Elite Status.
Of course, we talked about having that big work two-back coming in here. Richie had some good things to say about her as well.
Here is Artemis Girl, first time on the dirt.
A horse that's run on turf in both of her starts at big prices in each race, actually won at 50-1 when breaking her maiden.
Stakes winner Solo Shot. She went off the right way, breaking post parade, and will round things out with a long shot on the outside, Sun and Wind.
Had to drop to get the win over a sloppy sealed surface last time out, and would just have to take a big step forward in terms of the numbers that she's run so far.
Well, 'tis the season for Derby preps, as we saw the Springboard Mile yesterday. Today, we will have the Los Alamitos Futurity, and we, per usual, are running a promotion over at Naira Bets, where if you bet 25 on the Los Al Futurity, get that $20 bonus. All you have to do is opt in over at nairabets.com. For more on this Fifth Avenue, we check in with JK.
Fifth Avenue. Nice houses on Fifth Avenue. Or they're pretty nice. They're very expensive, though. Solo Shot, for me, the 11. I remember up at Saratoga, and Maggie, I don't remember if it was you or Acacia that interviewed George Weaver after that debut win, but they did not expect this horse to run well. The horse had trained pretty poorly leading up to that race, and I think they were all a little bit surprised. One of the owners, Reagan Swinbank, was actually one of my neighbors during the summer, and he told me that morning, don't bet the horse. I saw Manny after the work, and he said the horse worked horrible, no good. And then the horse jumps off and wins by 7. I think there's some talent there. I just think that maybe this horse is trying to get it figured out. And I do think that in situations like this, that she, as she gets older, she has more experience. I think that she will start to figure things out. She looks great on the racetrack right now. Looks like she's doing her job well, warming up well. and she's drawn well, having this tactical speed, drawn towards the outside. I think that she has a lot of things going in her favor here. I don't really have an excuse for her last race. She broke a little bit slow for a horse that likes to be on the front end. I suppose that could be part of the issue. I'm expecting her to run better than she did last time, similar to how she was running in August and September.
Yeah, guys, looking at horses in the paddock, sometimes you don't get a very good look at horses. They're kept in the stall, they're being saddled, they're kind of covered up, by people and bell boots, sometimes bandages. And I didn't get a good look at the two, My Shady Lady, who is your favorite. And looking around the track, boy, she is a pretty daughter of Solomini, carries herself with so much class. Really love the way she framed up, made a nice impression on the racetrack. Again, I did not get a good look at her in the paddock, full disclosure. The 6, My Perfect Mistake. Again, I like this horse. I know she ran a slowish figure first time, but I really think she was in need of a race and won just because she's talented, and I like the way she's been conducting herself today. And the horse ultimately that I'm going to land on is the 8, Walk With Me. I really appreciated her first start to show the kind of tenacity she did. You can tell a lot about a horse watching them train in the mornings, but what you don't know is if they have that, that herd leader instinct, horses that want to be in front, want to battle. She's already battle tested with just that one start under her belt, daughter of Central Banker. And talking with Dave Duggan, he loves the way she's trained since the race, and I think there's a big step forward for Walk With Me.
Yeah, as we were mentioning, a bit of a slow figure, but sometimes it's ambiguous when you are dealing with these young and lightly raced horses. And I thought it was interesting, Solomini is a freshman sire here in New York, and he has 5 daughters in this Fifth Avenue division. So a nice accomplishment in his first season as a stallion with horses on the track.
Yeah, he's very well represented in here, as well as the colt division coming up in our next race as well. He has plenty of runners and contenders in either spot, and I think that he has very live contenders in each race as well.
They are heading into line here. Excuse me. Did you like number 7, Book of Wisdom? She's taking money. We thought she looked good on the track. She is still an 0 for 4 maiden, though.
She breaks really well. I want her to go on with it instead of being taken back off of the gate speed that she's shown in the past, because I think that could be more beneficial for her, whether or not it's this race that ends up happening. But when a horse breaks on top, I don't like seeing them being taken out of their game over and over again. It's kind of, to me at least, a little bit discouraging. If she's already there, let her go on with it and see what happens. At least try it once, because she's not winning this way.
All right, your top pick, though, number 1, Miss Lau, 16-1. It is a full field with lightly raced horses, and I feel like, anything can kind of happen in these races. Do you think this race, projects to be won by a speed type?
We just don't know enough about these horses, having never seen some of them and having only seen some of them once, as far as how the pace is going to play out in here. So I would be surprised if anyone gets super comfortable and alone on the front end, but I don't think that this is going to be won by a horse that's coming from far, far off the pace. Just with how our races have been run overall, you don't want to be coming from way far out of it.
We didn't talk about number 10, Artemis Girl, first time on the dirt, daughter of Solomini. Half the General Ken, who's a stakes winner on the turf, but you go back a generation, there's stakes winners on the dirt.
There was enough pedigree to suggest that she could handle this surface, and she's not being bet like one of those turf horses that's bet on their turf form switching surfaces, but she's also been a big price in all of her races so far.
Blew up the tote board at 50-1, first time out, as we head up to Chris Griffin for the call of this New York Stallion Series Fifth Avenue division and the start of the cross country pick 5.
And win. Ready for the Fifth Avenue division. And they're off. Breaking outward there was Sun and Wind, but did break quickly from in between horses also. Book of Wisdom's got early speed, and Heart Scent, here comes Solo Shot and Manny Franco. Solo Shot and Sun and Wind, they go at it. They're well out in the center of the racetrack, and there's a pace duel on the front end immediately. My Perfect Mistake is now well settled, is in the 3rd spot, is just tracking off of these pace setters. Out wider, there's Elite Status. Elite Status is trying to move forward, as also right there comes Walk With Me. at the rail tightly. My Shady Lady is starting to progress right in behind the leading duo as they work towards that 4 furlong point. Also shoved along, here comes East Stormy at the rail. Following them, Torjete is in between horses. A wide run here, Artemis Girl. Artemis Girl is passing rivals quickly, though. They went 22 and 4 for that opening quarter mile. It's Solo Shot still in front. The 3 at the back, that's Miss Lau. Book of Wisdom, who broke with the leaders, and now towards the tail end of the field with the trailer. Hold her close. They're still chasing Solo Shot, and Solo Shot's got the lead. Sun and Wind is ready to challenge, so is Elite Status at 20 to 1. My Perfect Mistake is right in behind those pace setters. My Shady Lady is looking for an opening at the rail, and there it is. They are tightly stacked here as they reach the top of the stretch, and Book of Wisdom is rolling there. Junior Alvarado, grandstand side. It is now Elite Status. My Shady Lady has taken the lead. In between horses, Sun and Wind. It's still My Shady Lady with that ground-saving trip now opening up in the late stages. My Shady Lady is quickly up by 2.5. Here comes that late run here from Walk With Me from far out of it, but My Shady Lady gets the victory. My Shady Lady wins it over. An oncoming Walk With Me is right there with a photo. Elite Status. Sun and Wind was in there, and also Book of Wisdom in 1 minute 25 and 4. My Shady Lady in the 5th Avenue division.
Beautiful ride and trip for My Shady Lady and Javier Castellano for Carlos David, taking down the $500,000 5th Avenue division here. He sneaks up the rail, Sarah, and right there was the winning move.
Yeah, saved all the ground, was able to track right in behind the pace and made up some good early position kind of halfway through this race to get into that spot, which ended up being a difference maker as we saw a couple of horses with trips coming out of this race, but able to get that nice split and ended up just being as simple as the favorite. So I tried to get a little bit creative, and it turns out that this horse was just ended up being better than the rest of this field.
Yeah, as you said, speaking of trips, I think that the trip would be for number 8 in here, who finishes second for Dave Duggan, Walk With Me. Wasn't able to get to the lead like she was first time out and had to rally from well off of it.
Yeah, a totally different sort of setup for this one, and at least showed some sort of tenacity and versatility to try to overcome a less than stellar trip for her. A horse that had won Gate to Wire on debut and now had to switch things up and try out a different style, as we do see an objection. I don't know what they'll end up doing with this here, but there is an objection against your winner by the 12th place finisher of this race, Sun and Wind. So I personally didn't see anything, but I'm sure that we'll take another look and see what this might be about.
Well, it is a trainer's objection, and the trainer used to be a former jockey, so I don't know if that has any more weight into it, but Rudy Rodriguez claiming foul against Javier Castellano and My Shady Lady, as they did drift out in the late stages.
We'll have to take another look and see what ends up happening here.
Yeah, but we're seeing the in-house feed, trying to get a nice look at the head-on, as we'll bring in our former rider, Richard Migliore, for his thoughts.
Yeah, guys, definitely My Shady Lady strayed from her path, but she seemed like she was well enough clear of the 12 Sun and Wind, and you are allowed to change paths and take any portion of the racetrack as long as you're clear. I don't even think it's a dispute. I mean, it just seemed like she was a full length and a half clear when she did that drifting, and Javier Castellano did actually straighten up pretty quick. No doubt she deviated from that path, but again, being clear is the key, and I just don't see that as a allowable claim of foul.
Yeah, I think it's different when trainers rush down and claim foul. You don't know exactly what's going on. You can't see exactly what's going on because the head-on tells the entire story, and as Richie said, she was well clear.
Right, and look, she does drift out, but if you're clear, you can do what you want. So I think that this is also a situation where you have the horse that finished 4th versus maybe the horse that finished 2nd by the barest of noses, and also when you have a trainer's objection versus a jockey's or a steward's inquiry, it's a little bit different.
And Ruben Silvera never stopped riding Sun and Wind at any point down the stretch, so you can't even make the argument that she was cost of placing.
I agree. I would be very surprised if anything is done about this, but I've been surprised around here before, so you never know.
Yeah, I hopefully this is a quick adjudication that we will see. The results stand for My Shady Lady. A good effort, though, from the third place finisher, the first-time starter that you and Meg
too.
had interest in elite status.
Yeah, she kind of ranged up and then maybe flattened out a little bit, but this was her first race.
Right.
So I think that this was certainly an effort that she could build on going forward. So maybe one to really keep your eye on, because at a big price, she really did nothing wrong in this race, and I probably could take another move up in her second start, and that might not be against Stakes Company. Who knows?
Yeah, well, we will see what shakes out here and keep you posted. We are actually going to go to break here, but it feels, and looking at connections, there, Carlos David giving my shady lady a kiss on the head. It feels like this one's going to remain the same, but we will be right back after this break here on FS2. It's America's Day at the Races.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with an eighth of a mile to go. Express train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Welcome back to the program. Pumped up, Javier Castellano survived the objection, rightfully so, as my shady lady gets the win in the New York Stallion Series 5th Avenue division for Carlos David. And she bred by McMahon of Saratoga. So we saw Joe McMahon actually in the winner's circle with her, and she is owned by Shady Boys Stable.
Yeah, she got a ride right up the rail here by Javier Castellano, who was able to save all the ground. And then while she did drift a little bit, she was always well clear. So we had a trainer's objection that ended up not being valid here, and she ends up going on to the winner's circle, pays $750 to win over some interesting prices underneath. Maybe one worth keeping your eye on with that first-time starter elite status.
Yeah, and too, a little bit of a trip with the second place finisher, Walk With Me. So interesting race, as it always tends to be, as we'll turn the page. The Great White Way division coming up next, but we're back at Oaklawn for their 5th race, Maiden 20, going the 6 furlongs, and we currently see 5-2 on Chip Shortage, who is a second-time starter for Steve Asmussen, looking for a second win on the card, as we'll check in with Polly for more on this 5th.
Thanks, Mags. When you look at this race, especially with the 5 chip shortage, there's a lot of question marks. Listen, this is a lot of horses in here that are dropping from maiden special weight, either restricted or open maiden special weight, down to this 20. Now, chip shortage ran 4th, and it looks pretty on the race form, right? 54 buyer, it's the highest one. He was dead last in that race. So, you know, when I look at her, I tell myself, okay, 4 out of 4 in a 4-horse field in Indiana. I don't know if I can endorse at 3-1. I thought Babe in the Woods, the 11 for Kenny McPeak, was a horse that did drop for this level and ran okay. It was 6 out of 12. What I do like, bigger fields, you know, and that's why I landed on the 2-horse in here, Little Gin in Class. You know, between the 2 and the 3, you could argue, okay, is there a difference? Well, the 2 has faced 33 horses in 2 races. Hold on. There's a late scratch by Matt Ditterman. Hold on.
Number 4, Choctaw Grace, scratched out of this 5th race per advice of the track veterinarian. If you had number 4 Choctaw Grace in Win Play Show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta wagers, you'll be refunded for those. Again, a late scratch of number 4 Choctaw Grace here in the 5th race.
So there you heard the voice of Matt Ditterman. Yeah, scratch of the 4 Choctaw Grace. Who was a player in here? Ernie Witt's a very good trainer. So 5-1. You know, I don't know where that money's going to go. I know Sarah likes the 12 in here, Global Risk. I don't blame her. You know, you're looking kind of at a new face in here. That's why I chose the 2, Mags. You know me. I like those horses that come out of full fields. I'd rather, you know, go with the 2 than somebody like the 3, and now with the scratch with the 4. A horse that's been at least competitive in big fields.
Polly, I thought she was a bit interesting too. That's Lil Gin in Class, as she'll turn back in distance from the mile to the 6. It's a 2-turn mile at Indiana. She went very wide in the first turn. She kind of moved early, arguably, and was then just run down by the favorite up the odds in that 10-horse field. And she kind of fought gamely until that last 16th. So just proving that the mile was too far for her. She's interesting with the turn back.
Yeah, I like the cutback for her as well. And this is a horse that was second choice in both of her more recent races. Even got bet first time out. So I know it's Horseshoe Indianapolis, but she's always been one that's taken some money in her start so far. And you're getting a better price on her today than you have in the past as she makes her 4th start, dropping in for the tag.
You went to number 12, Global Risk, a first-time starter from the Brad Cox barn, daughter of American Freedom, who actually now stands in Arkansas.
Wow, I didn't know that he now stood in Arkansas. Yeah. Interesting. Look, I just went to a new face in this group, a first-time starter for a barn that is very good with their first-time starters. As a half to an 8-time winner in Distorted Flash. And while the works are not all that quick, I didn't feel as though they necessarily had to be for debuting at this level and gets that outside post, which for first-time starters in general, I don't necessarily love, as they do tend to break towards open space, but it gets to kind of see what's going on with the rest of this field, and with a couple of scratches now does get to move inwards a little bit and see how this race is playing out, maybe can adjust. And the Brad Cox horses are running so far at this meet. He's brought some live ones to Oaklawn so far, as he generally does in most places.
And, you know, Polly's sentiment does not go unwarranted. But broke slow, albeit you can't break slow going 4.5, but it was a 4-horse field. And really, what was in there? She's just wired by the winner, whose name I'm not going to.
Are we talking about chip shortage?
Chip shortage.
Yeah,
I think she's a vulnerable favorite.
I think so too. I mean, finishing last in a 4-horse field does not necessarily tell me that this is a horse that I want at a super short price in a full field at Oaklawn.
Big Bolt has a shot in here, too, has run well against arguably tougher, as we will send it out to Matt Ditterman. Late scratch of the 4 Choctaw Grace, as he brings you the call of race 5.
And 1 back now. Global Risk. We're ready to go. And Laroff. Good beginning. Chip shortage rockets out of post 5 and goes to the front as a share of the lead and clears off, in fact, from Global Risk. Little Gin in Class is moving up to be fairly close. Big Bolt is there as well, but Chip shortage finds himself with a clear lead. The margin's a 1.5 lengths. Big Bolt Picks up the running in the second position. Global Risk third. Little Gin and Class to the inside of him. There's a gap of 2 to Cat and Chrome alongside of Cowgirl Camille, who charges into the forward turn. Collier is next with Babe in the Woods and a Rumpet, who's down on the inside of that pair trying to get closer. A Rumpet passing runners as they round the turn, and Baba's Girls the trailer as they round that turn. Coming back to the lead, Chip Shortage on the fence, leads narrowly. Big Bolt turning up the heat, approaching the quarter pole. They're 2 clear of Little Gin and Class in the third spot. Global Risk sent along hard in the fourth position. The others are well out of it as they come down the lane. Chip Shortage still going strong, approaching the furlong marker, has a 2-length lead. Little Gin and Class is coming on, ducks to the outside for the final furlong, comes with her effort. 16th to go. Chip Shortage trying to fend off Little Gin and Class, and she'll do so. It's Chip Shortage. The filly by McLean's Music wins it. Little Gin and Class was second, third home Big Bolt, and Global Risk was fourth.
Gate to Wire did not have any problems at the break this time around. Chip Shortage gets the win. Ramon Vasquez in the irons for Steve Asmussen, who picks up his second win on the card.
Well, I guess her first effort was good enough to get the job done here today, as she went right to the lead in this spot and didn't look back. So able to seal the deal now, coming in from Horseshoe Indianapolis, and successfully stretch out from 4.5 furlongs.
She beat the 2, Little Gin and Class, and the 3, I believe, rounds out the trifecta for the 5th over at Oaklawn Park. Well, horses are in the paddock for today's co-feature, the New York Stallion Series Great White Way division, and it's another full field. 12 will go postward for $500,000. We'll jump into this race as BD Saints is your current 5-2 favorite.
The Run Happies are running, the Run Happies are selling, the Run Happies are winning. Eclipse champion Run Happy is showing a new dimension with winners on turf, dirt, and all weather. A record-breaking sprint champion, Run Happy is also showing winners at all distances.
The son of Run Happy, Nutella Fella, has won the hopeful.
One happy mama wins the Iowa sorority.
Run Happy, price for value, and standing strong at Claiborne Farm.
Wicked Halo, who wins the Raven Run Stakes.
Nobody catching Society.
Cybernite has won the Haskell over Tama and Ghana in the Forgo.
Echo Zoo wins the Nature Breeders' Consumer Series.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Welcome back to the program. It's America's Day at the Races here in South Ozone Park, Queens. We are about to get into our Spendthrift Farm 2-year-old race of the day as Spendthrift Farm home to North America's 4-time reigning champion General Sire Into Mischief. 5-2 on BD Saints. No surprise there, but Mig, you're going to start off by talking about a horse trying the dirt for the first time in number 7, the Big Torpedo.
Yeah, I mean, Maggie, you're probably more familiar with this horse, obviously, than I am, but the Big Torpedo is a big, rugged kind of horse, just a real solid individual. You know, and horses like this, I always think are just much better from a fitness standpoint, having a race under their belt. There's only so much you can do with certain horses through works. Kind of picked your husband, Tom Morley's brain, a little bit, because he doesn't just jump out at me as what you would say physically a turf horse. He doesn't have that big, wide, flat foot. Tom did say he, you know, moves more like a turf horse, but that, you know, he trained well. And I got to tell you, he's an impressive individual. I like him. I just really, he's the horse that kept attracting me back to him. And I can tell you that Paddock is buzzing. I mean, you got a lot of breeders, a lot of people involved with these horses from their inception all the way through their breaking and training. And I love the way the owners and breeders in New York come out to support the game. And you know, their horses for sure. So the 7 Big Torpedo gets a lot of check marks for me. The 9 BD Saints, I really like him. He's the horse that checks all the boxes, right? I like him on paper. I like him from a physical perspective. He has the most foundation, right, making his 7th start. Horse that's kind of interesting. He broke his maiden for 20. But he's actually really catching my eye is the 10, Solo in Paris, another son of Solomini. He ran a fast figure. He ran well. He improved in each start. He may have another improvement in him. He's actually looking really good for a Randy Prasad trainee. He's carrying great weight, looks really, really good. And then the 12-horse Brick Ambush. This is a horse turning back an 1/8 of a mile. He has that foundation, and he's just really well turned out. I like everything I see about him. He's a little bit of a more streamlined individual than some of the others, but I do like what I am seeing from the 12 Brick Ambush.
All right, a little love for Solo in Paris for Meg, who actually comes in here with one of the fastest races last time out.
He does. I think that that's a number that I would be surprised if we see replicated in the near future. However, anything's possible, and he does have it to his credit. So certainly one that may be worth keeping your eye on at a big price.
At 5-1, is Brick Ambush a bit chilly on the board?
I'd say so. You liked him a little bit more than I did, but I would say that it's nice to know with him that he has at least taken a step forward from his debut to finish as well as he did going the mile last time out. So perhaps not one that's really attractive to the betting public right now, but I definitely don't blame anyone for having some interest in him. A horse towards the far outside that actually has a really interesting pedigree that's taking no money at all right now at a huge price is Palace Boss, who this is a big ask first time out, but he is a half to Castle Chaos, who just finished 3rd in our Cigar Mile.
As well as Jester's Song and Queen's Masterpiece. And
it's a whole theme.
It is. I wonder if people just kind of forgetting about him because he drew in off the A's.
That does happen.
We will start off with Antonio of Venice, who ran a fast figure in the Aspirant.
He did. He comes in from Finger Lakes. That was a 73 buyer speed figure for him, even though he did finish off the board.
A maiden Solo Empire.
Only has the 1 race under his belt, running behind Big Prankster and Liberty Central, who will be in here as well.
Firster, who sold for $290,000, heavyweight champs.
Some nibbles on the board. A big work, 9 4/5 for the furlong.
The other Rudy went by King Freud. Here's number 5, Profitability.
A horse that would need to improve a little bit as he comes in from Finger Lakes, switching over to the George Weaver barn.
Here's a horse that's run well in both efforts, so still a maiden, Liberty Central.
2 seconds and 2 starts behind some decent horses so far in Slam and Gold and Big Prankster. This is a horse that has some trouble going into the gate, so definitely watch him out there on the racetrack and see what he does and if he can load a little bit more professionally today.
Yeah, and hasn't necessarily been able to switch leads in his efforts either. Is number 7, the Big Torpedo, tries the dirt for the first time.
Getting a nice warm-up out there from Javier Castellano, who just won the filly division of this race.
And number 9, BD Saints, per usual, Kendrick with a big warm-up.
Yeah, your favorite, and deservedly so. The horse that comes in with the faster numbers finished 2nd last time out to El Grandeo.
And Solo in Paris with an upset win last time out, though, for maiden 20.
Big step up in class for him, but he did get that fast number. We'll see if he can run anything like it today.
Here's another Solomini and Solo's Fury.
Maybe just didn't appreciate the off-going last time out and was ultimately taken care of and brought home. Now slightly cuts back in distance and gets a fast track.
And number 12, Brick Ambush, put everything together last time out going a mile.
Now cuts back a little bit in distance as well. He'll need to take another step forward today in terms of his numbers, but nice to know he can do it.
Two loud bands in the gate next to each other. The first-time starter, Palace Boss.
He's interesting because he gets in here off that also eligible list, like we mentioned, has that pedigree going for him, and maybe one to keep your eye on going forwards because this could just be a starting point for him in this field.
Yeah, 47-1 seems like a big price on a horse with pedigree. As we check in with JK, and the question is to BD Saints or to not BD Saints.
There's a lot of words there, Max. To BD Saints is what I'm going to do. Whew, he stressed me out. Look, this horse ran a 77 last time, Beyer speed figure, and I think that 77 was earned, overcoming some adversity. Look at the start of the race. BD Saints misses the break by, I'd say, 2 to 3 lengths. Now, this is a sloppy racetrack, different than what they'll see today, but I thought BD Saints ran extremely well considering the circumstances. Spots the field, all of these lengths, and still finds a way to end with a 77 Beyer. Now, keep in mind, Beyer speed figures, and most speed figures, are a way to express how fast the final time of a race was. It doesn't really tell you about the interworkings of a race. So the fact that this horse earned a 77 Beyer, despite the way that the race started for BD Saints, makes me feel like there's probably more in the tank or under the hood, or however you want to try to make the analogy. I think BD Saints is going to be tough in here. I understand why the horse is being bet. There's not really another horse in here that I feel like you can trust to run an 80-ish Beyer, and I think that it's as long as BD Saints breaks, Richie, I think this horse will run at least an 80 Beyer.
Well, listen, I couldn't get past him physically. I think he looks terrific as well, the 9 BD Saints, and he checks both boxes, right? When we talk about horses, we're looking at what we see on paper and what we see from a physical perspective, and he is the horse that checks both of those boxes. He should be extremely competitive here. I think this is an extremely tough heat. I think there's a lot of horses that could jump up and win this. And when I'm in that kind of position, my fallback is to go to the horse that just kept catching my eye and drawing me back to them, and that'll be the 7, the Big Torpedo. Obviously, the dirt's a question. He's only got the 1 turf start, but he is a big, strapping son of Big Brown, and he just caught my eye, and I've got to go with my instincts on this one, guys.
He is very handsome, Richie. I will say that. He's a good-looking dude. Actually, you may have noticed it when Richie was talking about him in the paddock. Kind of has that white eye a bit. Kind of sees out of it, but not that well. But it doesn't really affect him running. I mean, you go up to him, and if you go at him on that side, he's kind of like, whoa, wait, what? So don't make any sudden movements. But when he's running, the adrenaline kicks in. He has no problem with it.
It's a good tidbit of information to know. Is this a condition that he's always had or something that's sort of developed over time?
He came in with it.
Yeah,
earlier on in the year. So wishing the best for him. He's a cool guy, and wishing the owners the best of luck too, as the dam actually a stakes winner on the dirt, going a mile. So we'll see how that shakes out, but BD Saints, much the horse to beat in here. Is there anybody you wanted to try to use? I knew you were a little bit interested in heavyweight champs.
Yeah, a horse that is now kind of closer to his morning line price at 12-1 and had kind of taken some pieces of money throughout the wagering of this race. So I think he's a little bit interesting coming in here. We saw a Rudy Rodriguez trainee finish at a huge price in 4th in the previous race. So the horses are running today. He had Disarmed win earlier on the card. So certainly bringing in a lot of live horses into today's card. So even if this is not the winning day for him, maybe one to keep your eye on moving forwards, as well as the horse all the way on the outside in the Horacio de Paz trainee, Palace Boss. So this is an interesting field. I think that BD Saints ends up being your winner, but there's a lot going on in here in terms of pedigrees or horses that can take another step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see the 5 head into line, big price there, but George Weaver with his 2-year-olds all year long has just been so consistent, as we do see number 6, as you mentioned, Liberty Central, giving the crew some fits, as he has had in his previous 2 efforts.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed, though they locked arms last time and got him in there. Actually,
don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it. Suck it in. Look, Kendrick, Getting there. Okay, all right, he's in. He's usually good once he's in there.
He is, yes.
Yeah.
This is actually better today for him.
Yeah. Well,
knock on wood.
Let's hope he gets a little bit more professional in the latter stages, too, and switches leads, as this is your Spendthrift Farm 2-year-old race of the day. It is the Great White Way division of the Stallion Series, as we do see number 11 balking a bit there. That's Solo's Fury. Guys will... Gosh, they're so strong to get these horses in, as they do. And strong voice up at the helm is Chris Griffin for the call.
Palace Boss steps forward. It's the Great White Way division, $500,000. New York Stallion Series, 39th running. They're all set. Liberty Central Fractious now moves. And they're off, and it was a very slow start for BD Saints as the early trailer. Liberty Central, also broken a tangle, is the early trailer. Complexion changes here as heavyweight champs right out to the front. Heavyweight champs in Solo's Fury. They're going to be a clear 1-2 out in the center of the racetrack. Following them, the Big Torpedo is right there tracking in third. The rail is open here for Antonio Venice, who's now secured fourth. Towards the outside there comes Brick Ambush, who's going to be in the fifth spot. Palace Boss is out wide, is in sixth. Then at the rail, that's King Freud. Further back in the field is Solo Empire. As we go towards the tail end, BD Saints is shoved along. Profitability is right there. Also, Liberty Central trying to make up some ground as they work into that far turn. 22.49 for that opening quarter mile. They're chasing on the front end. Heavyweight champs. Solo's Fury is right there. Antonio Venice is in gear. Also rallying on. Brick Ambush has got a run, is now running after them 3 wide. Also making a rally. Here comes Solo in Paris, and Solo in Paris is in gear. There is the Big Torpedo in between horses. They are stacked up here as they reach the top of the stretch. Gets real tight there for the Big Torpedo. Had to check. Heavyweight champs is in front. Heavyweight champs has got the lead. Brick Ambush is right up alongside. It's heavyweight champs who's boxing onto the inside. Brick Ambush trying to catch them both. Antonio Venice is in the clear, and Antonio Venice is now launching here late in the blue blinkers. Antonio Venice 3 wide. Antonio Venice takes the lead. Brick Ambush is back to second. Heavyweight champs is in third. Antonio Venice is your winner. Antonio Venice gets the victory over Brick Ambush. Then came heavyweight champs, the Big Torpedo, Liberty Central in another photo in 1 minute 24.40 in today's ninth.
Antonio of Venice getting the job done over Brick Ambush. It was kind of the horse to make the last move into this race. Gets the win. Manny Franco aboard. It got real messy here, and I'm going to be completely biased, and our horse got completely eliminated. The Big Torpedo turning for home here by the winner, actually.
And I was saying to you, your horse has got something if he can get through.
Oh,
you see that move where Antonio of Venice goes to switch out, and kind of he and Solo's Fury create this sandwich right on the Big Torpedo. So ultimately, he does end up getting the win. I wonder if this is a race that they do end up taking a look at, because I'd say there's more legitimacy to this issue than the previous one with the trainer's objection.
Because then the Big Torpedo, I mean, he's never going to
He's never going to win.
But he does run on a bit. And, yeah.
Well, Rudy Rodriguez, I mentioned that the horses are running today, and it's kind of the other Rudy, to me at least, not to the board, who ends up being your unofficial winner. But we'll take a look at the head-on, because there's definitely a traffic jam.
Yeah, guys, you have to go back a little bit further than that.
It's right around the turn.
Yeah, it's right at the point of the turn, which is hard to get a good head-on shot of, to be fair. But we'll see if we can get that for you. But, yeah.
Some action.
Yeah, if we could get the head-on before where we showed it, that would be great. But the first-time starter heavyweight champs running well as well for Rudy Rodriguez.
Yeah, a little late to switch leads. I don't remember if he actually did or not. I stopped watching him and started looking at Antonio and Venice as they were coming into the stretch. But he was quick out of there, and we'll take another look.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Now, keep your eye on number 1 on the rail. Big Torpedo is in there. In between.
Solo's Fury also
and I don't know if it's Brick Ambush kind of leaning into Solo's Fury. But unfortunately, number 7, the Big Torpedo, taking the worst of it, as we welcome Megan for a comment.
Yeah, I mean, watching that pretty carefully, Antonio Venice definitely came out, and it was at the same time that Brick Ambush was making his run outside. And ultimately, if the one horse Antonio Venice doesn't come out, there's no issue at all. It put the 7, Big Torpedo, in the most precarious of positions. He honestly was very fortunate not to go down there. He got put in a ridiculously tough spot, had a check, and then he actually finished with interest after that. I honestly feel like the 1 horse was the cause of all this, the winner, Antonio Venice, coming out at the same time outside horses are making their move and they're holding their line. So they basically accordion the 2 horses in the middle, and the one who got the worst of it was the Big Torpedo.
Said perfectly, as he typically does, Meg, as we do see the number 1 flashing inquiry here. You know, it's just how racing goes. Rudy Rodriguez tried to get an elevated placing by launching a objection, and this time around, it's his horse that is the one in question.
Yeah, we'll see what they ultimately decide to do here. I mean, this is a situation where it's not towards the latter half of the stretch. It's right around the turn. So I don't really know what they will end up deciding in here, but I don't think that you can argue that there was a horse put in a precarious position, and that no matter what way the result stands, it was potentially going to be an unsafe situation that is worth taking a look at.
Yeah, well, connections feel as though they should have their picture taken. As we'll get on over to Oaklawn Park, we'll keep you abreast of what transpires here at the Big A. But some drama. Some drama in both of our Stallion Series races over at Oaklawn. We do see the 6th race on the track, a maiden special weight for the 2-year-olds going the 6 furlongs here, Sarah. And as it kind of projected to be, we see favoritism and likely players on the outside taking the most money. But we'll kick things off with a firster, Safecracker Sue.
A horse that sold for $20,000 at the OBS April sale by Collected, who stands for $10,000. So possibly a little bit interesting at a big price.
Here's one that could have speed at 7-1, Tale of La Bee.
3rd-time starter, comes in from Churchill Downs, so perhaps getting a little bit of class relief here, and that was a lot to pay for a B jersey.
Yeah, you don't see many of those.
No,
as number 3, Ruby Queen. She debuted up at the Spa, decent effort, but subsequent not.
And I don't know that we're going to see a repeat of that 60 buyer that she got first time out. Really regressed last time.
First-time starter Catholic Sue from the Mike Hewitt barn goes by as number 5, Ariana's Pearl, make the jockey Chris Linderos.
A little bit interesting as she comes out of a race where Intricate was your winner, who did come back to take the grade 2 Goldenrod, now switching barns.
And she sold for $220,000 at the Horses of Racing Age sale as number 6 is Spiritual Lady for Joe Sharp.
Only 2 starts on dirt so far. Her best race was sprinting on turf, so I wonder what she ultimately ends up wanting to do.
Midshipman's Dance will go out.
First-timer going for the Sean Williams barn, who's deputizing, I think, for Robertino Diodoro at the moment.
Yep. The Big Calhouna will make his first start for precocious stallion Maximus Mischief.
Maximus Mischief off to a great start. His 2-year-old first-time starters are winning at 23% so far.
Number 9 is Cleopatra Celine. Ran well last time.
She's been a huge price in both of her 2 starts so far. Now you're getting 5-1 versus 60 last time out.
She did lug in. And number 10, your favorite, Bang Bang Fury.
She's run 2 good races, consistent numbers for both, as she stretched out an extra furlong at Churchill last time out. Was favored last time, didn't quite get the job done, goes out as your favorite again.
Back over at Aqueduct, inquiry still being taken a look at here as we do see the jockeys talking to the stewards, pleading their cases. We had a shot previously of Javier Castellano talking with the press, actually kind of them getting his side of the story as we see Dave Krenig. And here's the stretch again. This is what's in question. Watch number 1, Antonio Venice, your unofficial winner. He's going to drift out a path, and that is going to cause number 7, the Big Torpedo, to check sharply as Solo's Fury trying, I think, just to hold his place as Brick Ambush makes it somewhat tight on him, but they both hold their path. It's Antonio Venice that's the one that steps out a path significantly.
And I think that's the move that really was the difference maker for how everybody sort of dominoed after that. And I think that you kind of saw Solo's Fury being pulled up and not persevered with out of there, just kind of throwing in the towel for today. But I agree. I think that he was just kind of holding where he was and then sort of had another horse come over on him in that domino effect from inside to outside. Everybody's animated down there.
Everybody is. I can't stop my heart from racing. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because it was our horse, the Big Torpedo, my husband's horse, I should say, that was affected most. And I was seriously concerned that he'd go down for a moment, and then really annoyed because he obviously had run and was able to still eke out fourth, as we'll get back over at Oaklawn. For more on this maiden special weight, we'll check in with Paulie, 6-5, Paul, on Bang Bang Fury.
Yeah, and the horse to beat in here, Mags. And when you start, this is the start of the late pick 5 here. And, you know, the early pick 5 was chalky. We've had a $260,000 one, a $16,000 one, a $40,000 one. Came down to life, $75 for 50 cents. But if you had the 4, you get 150. So now to the late pick 5. You know, I do think Bang Bang Fury is the horse to beat. You know, very interesting is the 7 in here is taking a ton of money. I can't remember seeing a Stevie Wonder Boy mare. I was actually there in 2005 when he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile for Doug O'Neill. But this horse is taking money for Sean Williams and Christian Torres. These are connections, obviously, with Robert Teodoro's assistant that go way back. So I think the 7's live on the board here. I'll stay with the 10 at 6-5. Don't really love the price. And I also think, Maggie, the 2 at 6-1 is a ridiculous price.
Yeah, as we've seen, Paulie, Ramsey Zimmerman be really aggressive, Sarah, with his horses out of the gate. And we could see Tale of Labie, who for Chris Hartman, you all know he's dangerous, could be effective if that one's able to get to a clear lead.
We saw him win with a horse just by going right to the front the other day, kind of a lot of prices as well. So it pays to be aggressive in a lot of these races, especially if you look around and nobody else wants the lead. Go take it, and good things happen.
And Ramsey usually does, as we'll get it out to Matt Dinnerman for the call here of race number 6 from Oaklawn Park. This does kick off a 50-cent late pick 5.
Bang Bang Fury coming up to the outside. We're ready to go. And they're off. Slow break from the Big Kahuna. Good getaway from Spiritual Lady, who fires out fast. Tale of Labie has early lick too, and Tale of Labie grabs the lead from Spiritual Lady and Cleopatra Celine. 3 deep pressing the issue, but in a good stalking position. They're a length and a half clear of Ruby Queen. Settles in 4th with Bang Bang Fury in the pink jacket down the backside. 3 better than a line of runners. The Big Kahuna, after the slow break, advancing position to race with Midshipman's Dance. Those 2 first-time starters locked in battle in midfield, 4 from the top. They're 5 clear of Ariana's Pearl, already sent along. Catholic Sue and Safecracker Sue, the last pair at the back together. Around the far turn, it's a contentious pace as Tale of Labie tries to fend off the challengers, but she's under a hard ride here. Spiritual Lady's there, and Cleopatra Celine right behind them. 3 deep, ready to pounce at the top of the lane. Ruby Queen ducks to the inside, and Bang Bang Fury's coming on. Ruby Queen trying to get there down on the rail. Bang Bang Fury finding a good stride, and here's Midshipman's Dance on the grandstand side, charging fast. Midshipman's Dance up the inside. Ruby Queen has run a record-breaking race today for her, but as they come to the line, it is Midshipman's Dance. Midshipman's Dance over Ruby Queen, and then Bang Bang Fury in 3rd, photo for 4th, Cleopatra Celine, and also Spiritual Lady.
Number 7, Midshipman's Dance, rolling from out of it down the middle of the racetrack. Christian Torres gets the win for the deputizing Sean Williams for Robertino Diodoro. And this one, a daughter of Midshipman. And I don't know, Sarah, I should have put more credence into this horse because of the sealed track. And I always love the Midshipmans, especially sprinting on the turf and that hard sealed track. I'm sure she loved it today.
Replicative of that kind of surface. I mean, this horse stayed out in the clear, away from all of the inside lugging in and traffic towards that closer to the rail position. So got the right kind of trip and set up in here because there was a fast pace on. I feel a little bit for the number 3, Ruby Queen, who ended up finishing 2nd, had to check and out of position and ended up coming up just a bit short, but a live first-time starter gets the job done.
Yeah, Ruby Queen did have trouble around the turn, and she was able to just, grind it out, but just got it. Oh, okay. Oh, apparently no change over here at the Big A. It took them long enough. Still unofficial, so we will bring you official reactions and prices after this break here on America's Day at the Races.
And the stage is set. Bright Work will make Ways and Means work. She is running on strongly. Ways and Means still a length back second. These two are dominating. Bright Work is a superstar.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Whew! I am flabbergasted by the results. Our apologies. They did not change the numbers. Chris Griffin did not get word that there would be a disqualification until we went to break. So it is now official, and the result is 1-3-7-6, with second place finisher Rick Ambush being disqualified. I'm going to continue to scratch my head about this as we head down to Richie.
All right, thank you, guys. Manny, first, what's the feeling when you're sweating out? It's a $500,000 race, and the inquiry was focused on your horse. Ultimately, they took the 12 horse down. How desperate is that feeling when you're waiting for them to adjudicate the foul?
It's the worst feeling, but at the same time, I was comfortable because I just was holding my ground. I mean, I feel that the horses outside, the 12 horse, he just go by, and I think he's the one who put the pressure. So, like I said, I holding my ground, and my horse was responded to me the whole way, and I was able to go around those two horses and get it done.
You know, it looked like turning for home, you were searching for some room, so you started to head out, and you put your horse's shoulder on the horse just outside of you, but then you feel like the outside put the more pressure.
Yeah, the outside horse is pushing the Jeremiah's horse, and Castellano is there, but he's not. So, like I say, I'm holding my ground. The 12 horse put the Jeremiah horse to my horse, so I'm turning my horse because I got to protect myself too. And the horse in the lead is getting out, so I just, like I said, holding my ground the entire way, and that's what I did.
Now, this is a horse you rode at Finger Lakes, showed a lot of speed. Today he rated more comfortably. He seemed like he took the kick back and being inside very professional.
Yeah, I have the chance to work him last time. He was working tremendous, and I was really confident on him, and Rudy too, so I rode him with a lot of confidence because I know he run back and at Belmont and he run behind horses and he took the dirt too. So with the way he was working, I was, like I said, I was comfortable and I rode it like the best horse in the race.
Congratulations. Go take a breath.
Thank you, Ricky.
Guys, always tough when you got to sweat out those inquiries.
Yeah, I guess so. Sarah?
Look, what's happened isn't Manny's fault, right? I mean, he is.
No, we can't hold decisions made outside of him.
Are not on him because this is a race that he's trying his absolute best to win. And if the stewards have decided that he was in the bounds of whatever the rules might be that don't necessarily seem to be consistently followed over time, and when we can never predict how they might react to a situation like this, it's difficult for us to sit up here and sort of be able to say what might or might not happen. We can do our absolute best to provide the insight on what we see unfolding in this race and what we think should happen from there on out. But ultimately, when the decisions are in the hands of somebody else and we're all here discussing it and wondering how that happens, and this is a reoccurring theme in New York, you start to lose a little bit of faith in the powers that be.
Well said, Sarah. Very well said. And we're even checking it out here on the house feed. Again, I'm still not exactly. And to be fair, it happens at a point where head-on vantage point is hard to gauge because it's right at the point of the turn. So you can't really gauge who drifted in a path. Even though this is about the 5th time I've watched it, probably more, it still to me looks as though Antonio Venice is the one who steps out, who causes that chain reaction.
And I think that's kind of what Mig was hinting at as well, saying you started to move out a little bit. And I understand from Manny's perspective, he's arguing that he was just holding his position. And if that's what the stewards believe, that's what they believe. And clearly it is based on the decision that they made. It's not what any of us saw happening, but we're not out there, we're not riding, and ultimately we're not the ones that are making the decisions. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating for you and I. It's frustrating for you and your husband who have a horse who
No,
is
it's frustrating for the bettors more so.
I was getting to them as well
Yeah.
because they lose faith in the ability to have these decisions made fairly and by people that are really seeing the races in a way that kind of makes the most sense to a lot of the people that are watching the races on a regular basis. And it's just frustrating, and I wish I had something better to say than that, but that's how it is.
Yeah, I know. Officially, Antonio of Venice over heavyweight champs and the big torpedo in the Great White Way division. As coming up, we have the nightcap from the Big A maiden claiming 30 for the New York Breds. Much more to come on this race as you're checking out the current favorite from the Dave Donk Barn. That's Munja.
This proven son of Giant's Causeway has sired 7 millionaires. With over 10% stakes performers, his recent top runners include Tarabi, placed in the Grade 1 Spinaway and Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, Grade 2 winner Plum Ali, plus these standout performers. A proven value sire, First Samurai, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
War Dancer, New York's leading turf sire again in 2023 with standouts like Barrage at Saratoga.
Here's Barrage with a final surge. Barrage got him.
Warsaichi dominant on the dirt at Finger Lakes.
Warsaichi has scampered well clear. Warsaichi all the way with the top spot.
And Danzig Queen on the tap of the surface at Woodbine.
And Danzig Queen will come away and win by a length.
Consistently producing winners on dirt, turf, and synthetic. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York.
Thanks for joining us here on FS2. It's America's Day at the Races. Maggie Wolfendale, Sarah L. Bodwee, Richard Migliori. We also have Jonathan Kinchin, and out there in Hot Springs, our man, Paul LaDuca. Horses in the paddock, though, here at the Big A. Maiden 30 going the 6 furlongs for the 2-year-old New York bred fillies. And currently, we're seeing 3-1 favoritism on Mangia, but number 2, Sol Imperatrice for Jose D'Angelo was pretty quick in her debut. And, you know, I think she did all the dirty work, Sarah, and just came up tired.
Yeah, she actually went off favorite in that race behind your eventual winner, and Ali Song, who was a Brad Cox first-time starter. And look, she just makes a lot of sense in this spot. She ran pretty well. It was subsequently avoided claim, and she's had a little bit of a freshening since then. But I think that in some ways, she's kind of the horse to beat of the horses at this level. We don't really know what we're going to get from some of the ones that are dropping in class, and they could prove to just end up being better than some of the horses that have been at this claiming level so far. But she was game in this race. She just got beat, and she ended up holding off a horse in a long way back to your third place finisher, Necessary and Proper. So I like her a little bit in here. I think that the horse towards the outside in Manja makes a lot of sense, who's a short price right now. But this is a tough way to close things out, as we often see our final races of the day be very wide open.
She does only post 2 workouts in the last 2.5 months after that voided claim. As we're taking a look at number 12, No Layups, who will switch to the main track here for Chad Brown as she drops in class. You could say Preservationist is a dirt influence, but on the bottom it is more turf.
It is, and look, she's a half to Timbuktu, who is a better turf horse, but he could handle the dirt competitively enough relative to his competition. And so I think that perhaps getting the class relief, now cutting back a little bit in distance and making a couple of changes here, I ended up going with her as one of those horses that I thought at least might not be the horse that's bet on turf form, switching surfaces for the first time. And you get a fair enough price, but she is taking a little bit of money, and there will be a point when I no longer find her attractive in terms of price.
Dylan Davis will be aboard. I mean, my notes from first time out, Sarah, say all turf, but you know, she was 6-1, and that is a relatively large price for a Chad Brown runner, but she was also going out in a field of 12. So a lot of times you kind of see some of these horses that maybe don't come in with flashy works or necessarily flashy pedigrees. They might be a little bit more generous when it comes to their price, as we head down to the paddock and check in with the MIG.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I was catching up with Kendrick Carmouche. We were having a little bit of talk about what transpired in the last race, and riders that are in behind those things usually have the best seat in the house. We're going to start with the 3-horse here, Dactylografa. I hope I'm saying that properly. Man, I'm taken with the way this horse looks. She had the 1 start, didn't show very much run whatsoever, but drops in class, and she caught my eye. I like what I'm seeing from a physical perspective on the 3-horse at a big price. The 4 came as first-time starter, Bruce Levine. Been doing well with his first-timers and hitting on all cylinders here. She just looks speedy. She has a quick look to her. I like her work tab. Comes in off of 5 furlong work out of the gate. The 5, Awesome Geo. First time she getting with New York breds. Rob Adgers claimed her last time. Usually when I like a horse from a physical perspective, I look up. A lot of times it's a Rob Adgers runner. His horses are just usually very well turned out. The 6-horse High Track, making her second start for Todd Putcher, showed speed in a maiden allowance with Kendrick Carmouche. She just looks good. Kind of a small, dainty filly from Todd Putcher, but I do think she'll improve with the race and the drop in class. And the 10 Manja, you know, you look at a horse that's favored and you're always looking for a negative or something that maybe you feel like is a little bit of a weakness. I don't see any of that here. It's just a little bit odd. She ran pretty well first time out, maiden allowance, had blinkers, and makes that drop in class. You know, it just feels like it's a little bit quick to make that drop, but she did run well on debut and gets tougher.
I agree, Meg. I think she is the horse to beat. The public appears to agree. In Mangia, you would think going to show some speed, but is going to have to deal with the inside speed of another logical contender in Sol Imperatrice.
It'll be interesting to see how the pace ends up playing out in this race. I think you could see a couple of horses that are looking for that early lead, and it might help set up for somebody else. We do have a lot of horses that are kind of question marks coming into this spot. We don't know too much about what their ultimate running style is going to be. Horse that neither of us are particularly interested in, but was favored first time out, High Track, a little bit cold on the board to me, at least, after being a favored first-time starter for Todd Pletcher in State Bred Maiden Special Weight Company, now dropping in class.
Right, she was 4-5 that day, and while marginally against the racetrack where it was a speedy inside track with PR Mutt, I always want to say PR Mutter Pickle. It's P.
Pickles.
Mutter Pickle. Yeah, for pickleball. It's one of Stuart Grant's friends that plays pickleball. Anyway, I digress. But she was bad as the favorite, and she was incredibly unassuming in the paddock. I didn't necessarily love what I saw that day as number 1, Mel's Angel, brings experience at least to the table.
Had a good race, 3 back now behind the horse Sun and Wind, who we saw run very well earlier in the New York Stallion Series filly division of the race. So, I mean, maybe one that you take a look at a big price.
Soul Imperatrice hitting the track. Javier Castellano up for Jose D'Angelo.
Has a good first-time out race, 47 by her speed figure for that effort, finishing second. If she can build on that, she's a player.
Dactylographa will have to run better dropping in class, though.
The class relief will have to assist her. She did not do much running first time out in the same P. Mutter Pickle race.
Bruce Levine, I know maybe his recent numbers don't suggest, but there was a time where he was dangerous with these first-time starters. He had one win yesterday.
Don't see too many Greenpoint Crusaders.
No. Sands in Florida, I believe, is number 5. Awesome Glow went by off the claim. Big warm-up, though, for number 6, High Track.
Hopefully she can be a little bit sharper early on in this race to have a better chance of at least hitting the board in here. But, yeah, for a Todd Pletcher trainee dropping class, not taking money.
Number 9, Nigeria, first-time starter for Andrew Lakeman.
A trainer that I'm rooting for, one that I think When Love Takes Over was claimed away.
Yeah, our friend Ray Handel, not a friend to Andrew, took it.
Guess not.
Number 10.
Jeez, who does that?
I know. Well, at least he had another horse in the barn. We were concerned it was his only horse. Monjo went by as your favorite. Here's number 11, Kali Storm off a layoff.
One that is dropping in class, debuted in an off-the-turf race that was won by Solo Shot, who did not run particularly well earlier today.
Number 12, No Layups. Layups switches from turf to dirt.
A horse that is dropping in class, making those changes, cutting back in distance, switching surfaces. Lots going on for this one to hopefully have a little bit of a better performance today.
And there is number 13, 603 for John Terranova, Jose Gomez in the irons.
Debuted on a sloppy sealed surface December 3rd, so maybe just didn't appreciate the off-going, but would need to show something different today.
All right, we get back, I'm assuming, up to Jonathan Kinchin, who is in Saratoga, JK, with your reference to Fifth Avenue, even though that's the wrong reference. It's actually Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, but we'll let you slide.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you which Fifth Avenue is the most important to me. No, I think I'm actually going to the city next week, and I think they've blocked Fifth Avenue off. I keep hearing about it from my wife about walking by Saks to look at the lights, which seems like a ton of fun. Look, I really like the 2 in here. This is a situation where this horse has taken has showed a lot of early speed in that debut, got a little bit tired. I think speed is an indication of talent. So when horses can show some early ability, it makes me believe that there is some talent there. They just kind of have to hone it a little bit. Maybe a little bit short last time, but I do feel like the 2 is going to run significantly better second off of a break. And as far as the 6 High Track, this horse took a ton of money in a maiden special weight first time out. It seems like a really fast give up for Todd to drop in for a tag. Please don't tell anyone that I told my wife that. I'm very excited to see the lights at Saks.
I still don't believe you, JK. I just don't believe you. Well, Sarah hasn't been either, so maybe you can join.
Yeah, could have a fun party in New York City.
Oh man, yeah, we don't go to the city much anymore.
No, I've only gone. I've only gone into Manhattan a couple of times since moving here, and I went for a show at Radio City, which was a really good time. But it poured on the way back to the car, so I don't know that I'm in a rush to get back there.
Yeah, I'd much rather take public transportation when going to the city. There's a firster going in for Flying P Stable, Camus. I think a little play on the spelling.
The wine?
Yes.
Very good wine.
Jay Provenzano, big fan of Camus.
Have you ever had the Camus special?
I think I have.
Yeah.
That's good too.
Yeah.
Yep. But my husband's a complete wine snob and really only likes French wine. I can't believe I just threw him under the bus on there.
How can
like, I don't like California.
How can you be a wine snob and only like French wines?
Because that's what wine snobs do. especially Europeans.
Jeez. I'll have to have a word with
I
Tom
like
Morley.
Camus. So anybody that wants to, donate any
For
Camus.
Maggie's Christmas present.
I kid. I definitely kid. Oh, they're heading into line for the nightcap. 2-1 favoritism going over to Soul Imperatrice. We'll see how far that speed will last her today with Manja breathing down her neck as we send it up to Chris Scriven for the call.
.603. .603 goes forward. And in. All set. And they're off. Manja's got early speed, and so does Soul Imperatriz. It's Soul Imperatriz and Heart Sentis Camus after this leader. Manja's in the orange cap, is towards the outside with Kali Storm, who's going to be in that early mix now moving forward with 603. Right there as well as High Track as they're stacked up in that middle grouping. Awesome Glow is in that mid-pack. They're followed by Nigeria, who's towards the tail end of the field. Also trying to make up some ground here from the back of the field. That's 603 on the move. Dactylografa and the trailer, Mel's Angel. Up top, it's Camus, who's in front. Camus is in front with Soul. Imperatriz right to the inside, 22-3, pumped up opening quarter. Manja is right off of them, is from third, is moving closer now as Camus has secured the front end at 11-1 with a quarter mile left to go. It is still Camus who's in hand and they're chasing. Camus kicks for home and Camus is clear. It's Camus. Manja is in full pursuit out in the center of the racetrack. Here comes a late rally here from No Layups. This is the grade down the center, but Camus just keeps on going. It's Camus who approaches a final furlong to go. Manja has not given up. The chase is still 2 lengths back. Camus is almost there for Isaac Castillo, 16th to go. Manja's going to try one final time. Camus is tiring late. Here's Manja at the line. Camus will hold on. Camus wins it by a half length over an oncoming Manja. Then came Mel's Angel from way out of it to get third. Also Nigeria and No Layups in a photo in 1 minute 12-4.
I would love to know what Isaac Castillo's frequent flyer miles is. I promise you, he was at Oaklawn yesterday. He is back and taking the nightcap here at the Big A as Camus gets the win first time out. Bruce Levine, Flying P Stable, as they go back-to-back days with debuters getting the job done. She got a little leg weary late, but, it's kind of like a perfect ending, and I'm ready for a meal with Camus and Manja.
I know. If you bet on Camus, you could probably buy yourself a bottle as she ends up succeeding at 11-1. So good job here, and a nice aggressive ride as well. She was forwardly placed and able to hold on in here over a horse with experience who was coming at her late.
Mel's Angel rounding out the trifecta, a distant third, as we're back over at Oaklawn Park for their 7th race, maiden special weight for the older horses, going the 6 furlongs as we head out to Paul.
Yeah, interesting race here to start off your late pick 4 here at Oaklawn Park. As you can see, scratch the 4 and the 10 in a very contentious field in here. Right now, your favorite is the 3-horse Raging, a first-time starter for Brad Cox that reportedly been working very, very well in the morning. Now, the other horse that's taking money in here is the Norm Cassie runner, who's run 2 really good races. Mr. Keating, a colt by Carpe Diem, been 3-1 and 3-1 in his first 2 starts and has really run well. And, obviously a major player in here, and they're battling for favoritism. The 8 Wicked, again, is a horse that is 0 for 6 lifetime, but has shown improvement in and out, kind of an in and out type of horse. But he is a gun runner, and those gun runners do like to chew up a little bit of the muddy racetrack. I landed on the 9 Pineland. I just think this horse will like going around 2 turns for Lindsay Schultz, and maybe we'll try to show the way most way around, or at least on the cutback here for Lindsay Schultz, Max.
Paul, thanks. As they head into line, Sarah and I discussing our dinner
wine plans.
Wine plans. Going into line here, Sarah, quickly, who did you take in this 7th?
Look, I thought this was an interesting race with the number 7, Mr. Keating, being my top pick, a horse from Norm Cassie, who has some decent numbers off a little bit of a freshening.
And turning back in
And
distance.
there goes somebody else.
Uh-oh.
That was, I believe, Can't
action.
Conquer Me, who broke through the front of the gate, the number 5, if my
you're seeing things right.
see
Wow.
me correctly.
I looked up,
here.
looked down, and she was gone.
Just quick.
He was gone, sorry. Yeah, Outrider doing a great job collecting Can't Conquer Me. We do also see excellent men in this field, too, shipping in from Aqueduct for David Jacobson.
You know who has the interesting pedigree in here, who I don't really like to win, but who has quite a bit of serious pedigree in this race?
Who?
The number 8, Wicked Again, full to Wicked Halo.
Ah, that's right. Kind of forgot about that.
Well, it's forgettable based
and it's
on what
funny
this horse has
because
done so
I have
far.
notes on this horse that say when he ran up at Saratoga over that muddy steel track going the 6 furlongs, wired by Ludwig, who was with the track that day. It was funny because he actually looks like he wants to run longer, but runs his style more like a horse that wants to sprint. So he's turning back today, and maybe
I like the cutback. I mean, Wicked Halo's a sprinter.
And he ran his best race, arguably, at Saratoga on that sealed racetrack. Same thing he's getting today, as it looks like they are going to put Can't Conquer Me back in line after being apprehended by the Outrider. Great job out there as we head out to Matt Dinneman for the call.
And then after Can't Conquer Me, Trapper's Creed to the inside. And once again, Can't Conquer Me broke through the front of the gate. Not often do you see one horse breaking through the front of the gate twice before a race. But there you have it, Can't Conquer Me. Gonna take his spot in line once again. We're ready to go. And Leroff Can't Conquer Me, had no problems coming out of there. He goes to the front. Wicked Again is there as well with him. Trapper's Creed from the inside, shooting forward. Trapper's Creed's on top, the long shot from Can't Conquer Me, a half-length back pressing in second. Raging on a snug hold, makes his way into third with Wicked Again, the gray horse. Then Pineland off the pace today. He's 4 lengths behind with Excellent Men, a length and a half clear of Mr. Keating, second to last. Miller's Right in the pink cap, the early trailer, as they round the forward turn now. Trapper's Creed the leader, but Raging is keen to get after that leader, and without being asked, takes the second spot. Wicked Again nickeled along from the third position as Raging gets acquainted with Trapper's Creed on the front end. Excellent Men in the fourth position, down on the rail, shaken up, just 2 behind, though, a gap of 3 to Mr. Keating, who's underway. Pineland needs to do better as Can't Conquer Me has come under siege. They come down the stretch, Raging on the outside, inside Trapper's Creed, struggling to keep up. Wicked Again grinding away. The gray horse on the outside strikes the front inside the furlong marker. Now he's going to have to deal with Mr. Keating, and coming on late, Miller's Right from well behind. Wicked Again trying to see out for the final 50 yards, lunging late, Miller's Right, and it is the gray Wicked Again to score. Wicked Again gives the Asmussen barn a hat trick. Miller's Right with a flying finish for second, and then third home in the race, Mr. Keating, and Raging fourth.
Well, as you heard Matt say, third on the card for the Asmussen barn, second for Keith Asmussen with Wicked Again, the younger brother to Wicked Halo. Just Wicked. The dam was pretty good herself, Paulie, talking about this one too. The turn back in distance, a little bit of a wet sealed track. Loved it just enough today.
Yeah, I'm glad that we brought this horse up as having that interesting pedigree, because I hadn't seen this horse before. It looks a lot like his sister and kind of like runs like her too, with the head down a little bit as well. So yeah, finally gets the win in start number 7.
Yep, as over here at the Big A, first-time starter Camus wins. Daughter of Greenpoint Crusader out of the Shanghai Bobby mare, Shanghai Bonnie. I have to say, I've probably seen this horse a million times because I keep my show horse at the farm, where these horses are, flying P horses, are either having a little vacation or being broke.
It's very cool. Very interesting. Couldn't find any tips on this one, Maggie, before we got into the show for today.
I feel like with that long, dramatic DQ, I feel like we've been rushed with these last 2 races here on the program.
Well, I just feel like my brain has turned to mush now.
Join the club. You're almost done, though, so you can unmush yourself.
If only that were true. No, you have a long day today. You are continuing on boldly through the rest of Oaklawn, but I mean, look at that pick 6. We did have that carryover today. If you were able to get all of the results, you got $74,000.
Nicely done, and congratulations if you were able to have it, as we will be back with official prices from Oaklawn's 7th race, and we'll get into more here on America's Day at the Races.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses.
His name is Cyberknife!
Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
Welcome to the Adelphi Racing Club experience. Take ownership of stakes-winning thoroughbreds like Funny How, racing at the highest level circuits.
Funny How is in front. It's Funny How who's up by 3 lengths, approaching the 16th pole. It's all Funny How. Funny How, Katie Davis more than amused. Funny How wins the Broadway.
Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference, and let's win races together.
Thanks for tuning in here on FS2. It's America's Day at the Races, brought to you by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, check out americasbestracing.net today. At Oaklawn Park, it was the younger brother to Wicked Halo, making his way into the winner's circle for Winchell Thoroughbred. Steve Asmussen with his 3rd on the card, and his son Keith Asmussen in the irons, picking up his 2nd win. Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's been successful so far this meet. Keith has been on a lot of live horses for his father and even for other trainers as well. And this one with the big pedigree, cutting back in distance, seemed to suit him as he was able to just hold on some oncoming closers and get the win in start number 7.
Officially, it was number 8, Wicked, again over the 2 and 7 as the pick 5 cross-country follow along. That was a little exciting in the 2 races from the Big A, but Wicked again goes off at 3-1 to return 840 over Miller's Right and Mr. Keating. Race number 8 coming up next at Oaklawn Park. 50 Cent Late Pick 3 starts here for their last 3 races. Optional allowance claimer going the 6 furlongs 2-1 on the Class Edge Nautical Star, who I know you were interested in as well. He was actually a single on your No Longer With Us ticket.
It's out in outer space now, but yes, Nautical Star is a horse that I think is definitely the horse to beat coming up in the next race. So we'll see how he ends up doing, but we'll see with you and the MIG coming up next.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Well done today. And yeah, the MIG joining me on set as we will bring you more racing coverage from Oaklawn Park, including the Tinsel Stakes, as it serves as a prep along the road to the Oaklawn Handicap. It's America's Day at the Races.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with 1/8 of a mile to go. Express Train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the Run Happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Flightline is in full flight. Flightline turns it on at the top of the stretch, and he's in cruise control.
And Flightline takes off!
Take a good look at this, because you're not going to see this too often, maybe never again. Flightline, 20 lengths clear.
World-class racehorse, world-class performance at a world championship event.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Curlin's obviously one of the great sires today. He's currently the second leading sire. He's a horse that gets Grade 1 winners, he gets champions, he gets classic winners, so he's really, you know, in a league of his own. I'm very excited about Army Mule, off to a great start at stud as well. His first crop are 3-year-olds like Good Magic, and you know, he's getting stakes winners and a very good progeny that can really run from a book that probably wasn't of the highest quality, so we think that he's a very good sire in the making. McLean's Music, top sire of Jackie's Warrior, and other Grade 1 winners. Cantharos is having a big year this year. The Charlatans are foals this year, who we're very excited about. Violence had a champion last year, or second Forte in Belmont, so he's having a great year, so we've really had a great representation right across the board on really all of our stallions. Good Magic looks like he can be special. The newest horse is Loggins. So Loggins is a horse that I thought had tremendous ability. He got hurt, and you know, in his second start, he was just beaten a Forte, who I think is a very good champion. And he's a great horse to look at. He's well bred. He's got the right names in his pedigree. I know there's always a critique when horses have a limited career that you're bringing unsoundness into the gene pool, or you know, those kind of things. But you know, if a horse takes a funny step or hurts himself, for me that doesn't demonstrate unsoundness or a genetic predisposition for unsoundness. You know, you take a funny step, you get hurt. That's bad luck more than anything. So, you know, we've had good luck with horses like McLean's Music and even Candy Ride, who raced limited number of times. So, we don't specifically look for horses with abbreviated careers, but I wouldn't discount those horses either because something went wrong. So it's very rewarding when they separate from their peers and they look like they're going to be very important stallions. And the hope is always that you'll stand a breed shaping stallion like Curlin.
Welcome back to the program, and thanks to Hillendale President John Secura for that update, as you were just mentioning to me, as we welcome in Richard Migliori to the set, winningest rider here at the Big A. That you feel as though Curlin is a reincarnation of Man of War.
You look at pictures of Man of War, and you look at Curlin. If they're not the spitting image of each other, it's just remarkable. And I mean, I absolutely love the whole Hillendale at Alapa, and I think there's no better steward for that historic property than John Secura. And you could see he takes it very serious and understands the hallowed ground they're on.
You can just feel his passion for the place, as, I mean, they've just gone through, painstaking efforts to just refurbish the entire farm and bring it back to its glory and heyday.
That stonework. I just see that stonework, and it just does something to me.
The Tinsel coming up a little bit later here. The feature from Oaklawn Park, Malin in 8th for the older horses. To say the handicap division here is we'll check out Strong Quality. He's fast, but Richie, there's other horses in here that have early speed, but I don't know about you, I thought he, especially from the inside, is going to be the quickest of the quick.
Well, I think there's more urgency having that inside draw inside the other potential speeds. And Florent Giroux, we know, is not bashful about allowing horses to use their speed. And this is a horse that hit a high cruising speed, 47-4 last time, and just continued, and he won geared down. This is the kind of race, Maggie, you don't believe took a lot out of a horse.
No, this is winning incredibly easily, like a short price favorite should. But as we mentioned, there's other horses to go with him. Now, we did see Ardenwood scratch, which he takes out a little bit of the speed, but another logical player in Speed Bias, he certainly has some early foot. So wondering if it sets up nicely for the 3-year-old coming off the back of a win here in the outside runner, Dennington.
Well, this is a horse that wants to make that last run, right? He last time was perfectly timed by Corey Lannery, going a mile, but got very fast fractions to run into as well. Now the 2 turns is going to create a different kind of pace scenario. You got the right kind of rider in Julien Leperoux, who I feel has really kind of found his form and his confidence level. And Kenny McPeak off to a good start at this young Oaklawn meeting.
Yeah, Julian already having a winner on the card as well. We'll see if he can keep things rolling, as he has already had a nice meet so far as it's in its infancy. But we'll take a look at race number 8, which is coming up next, going the 6 furlongs, optional allowance, claiming group. And currently, excuse me, we'll see number 4, Nautical Star, as your current 2-1 favorite. He'll drop out of Stakes Company and 2 back, running very well behind Damon's Mound at Parks in the Gallant Bob.
Yeah, and listen, he's been running in stakes the last couple of starts. It's a horse that has a lot of ability. It's really good to see Chris Landeros riding today after that tough-looking fall yesterday. These men and women are so tough.
Yeah, Eduardo Gallardo off his mounts. Chris actually picking up several of them. But this one, he was meant and named to ride, as Chris Hartman will often use Chris Landeros too. So I don't know. I think last time out in the race at Mahoning Valley, he was kind of in tight early, and then he went wide and just continued to do so. But granted, Rivet, the winner, was very wide too.
Yeah, I just wonder about that racetrack on the 23rd of September, the Gallant Bob. That was Pennsylvania Derby Day, and I think that was a very demanding track, and I wonder if that racing that day didn't affect horses going forward, their next performance.
Fair point, but I will say, too, that his best efforts have come on sloppy sealed racetracks.
Well, that's
and he's getting one today. At least it's muddy, and it has been sealed since races 1 through 7.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate here, and then you look over and you go, oh, wow, they got rain there? I didn't realize. But,
we often get rain there. I seem to bring it with me whenever I go out there.
You've been very unlucky going there and catching bad weather.
Yeah. Well, look at it. It's, set up where you can find cover.
Yeah.
It's a very easy track to kind of navigate, though a very tight paddock.
I am going to be there New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and I've already put in a pre-order for 65 to 70 degrees and sunny.
And you'll probably get it because you always do, Richie. Just rub it in the face. I'm kidding. You're checking out number 9 there in the paddock. Definitely on his toes. First time gelding going out for the Lucas barn is Armagnac, but taking horses from Bob Baffert is never an easy thing to do.
No, not an easy thing to do, and big solid individual. This, it seems like trainers have types of horses that they gravitate to or they wind up getting, and Wayne Lucas and Bob Baffert seem to come up with very similar horses, and I wonder if it's not a little bit of that influence from the quarter horse days, right? They were both very successful quarter horse trainers.
They tend to buy thoroughbreds that have the muscle mass of quarter horses just on thoroughbreds with that more long, rangier frame, it seems like. They always buy or produce big, brawny types.
Right, and there's big hind ends and really strong engines, right?
Well, they're hitting the track, but Count the Monet, he's looking to get back on track as he won the first 3 starts of his career, including the Advent at Oaklawn Park, and pulling off a big upset that day at 15-1.
Yeah, on a muddy track, kind of similar time of year, right, in mid-December, and it was a really nice effort. And things just kind of went south for this horse after that, just sideways. Just lost the form. Was it a matter of just being very precocious or some sort of an issue? We just haven't seen that form since that 3rd start.
I know. He'll be looking to get back on track off of a layoff, off of a turf effort for trainer Tom Swearingen, Chelsea Bailey in the irons. It looks as though the other kind of logical player in here is another possible speed horse in number 8, Stayed In for Half, who switches back to the dirt, and Steve Asmussen looking for his 4th win on the card.
Yeah, this is who I liked. I mean, I know this horse ran last 2 starts in good races on the turf, but has good dirt form as well, and is 2 starts at Oaklawn with a win in a second. So I don't have any apprehension about this horse getting back to the dirt.
Yeah, and too, it's not like he's a need-the-lead type. He can go out there and be brave on the front end, too, as 2 back at least on the turf, going 5/8, sat from just off of it. As we will see horses, they make that long walk down the stretch. But it's nice for us because then we get a nice, pan shot of the actual horse instead of the lead pony.
I like post parades. I like the opportunity for the public and us to really see these horses.
And there is number 1, Navy Seal. He comes off a little bit of a layoff, too.
Does have some wins at Oaklawn. Coming off that layoff is going to have to find the best form of his life.
Manny Esquivel having a great day, too. With 2 wins on the card is Count de Monet. As we said, coming off of a layoff and looking to get back to his best.
A horse that showed a lot of ability early on comes in off a very strong gate drill at Oaklawn Park.
Cipriano Contreras getting off to a right start at the meet with number 3, Derby Date.
Yeah, another horse that just feels like he's going to have to move the throttle forward. Does have races that put him in the frame, though.
Making his first start for the Chris Hartman barn is your favorite, Nautical Star.
And, well, you pointed out this horse's best races have come with moisture in the racetrack.
Shooter Shoot has faced some tough company in the past, and he'll make his 2nd start off the claim for Eddie Keneally.
1-for-1 at Oaklawn Park. Thought this horse was interesting coming up out of Churchill Downs.
Number 6, a long shot and Deflator.
Yeah, a long shot would have to find a race that we just haven't seen on the form.
Another long shot make the jockey Luis Fuentes excel.
Yeah, a horse, would have to find, I think, more than we've seen. Go back to one race at Oaklawn last year. That was pretty good, though.
And there is Stayed In for Half, a horse you're interested in.
Yeah, I like this horse. McLean's Music tends to throw horses with speed, and this horse has been proficient at Oaklawn.
Whew. Number 9, Armagnac continues to be, on his toes, on his nerves.
He's on the simmering point, almost boiling over.
Yep. Laid back looking is number 10, Vulcan, who's taking money.
Taking money, has won at Oaklawn, has that outside draw, should find himself in a decent stalking position.
Yeah, some of his best races coming over the Oaklawn Strip as we head out to the guy at Oaklawn, Paul LaDuca.
Yeah, you guys were mentioning the 10 in here, Vulcan, 20-1 on the morning line, and actually opened up at 9-5, is now clicked up to around 6-1, but the horse is taking a lot of money in here. You guys made a good assumption of the 4 mags you did. Listen, this horse has run 2 bang-up races, Nautical Star on a sloppy or a wet racetrack. One was at Gulfstream and one was at Parks. I like that they weren't at the same track, because we all know this as handicappers, as fans, and as fans, not every racetrack is muddy. Not every racetrack is the same kind of sloppy. So to run well over two different sloppy racetracks, listen, he's the one to beat. You know, I asked Chris before the race, I said, hey, he's an Okie bred. How long have you had him? He said, you know, I just got him in my barn. You know, I don't really have that many horses stabled at Remington, or I ran him there. But, you know, this horse was second to Damon's Mound in the Gallant Bob. You know, he's got some talent. So the 4 is the horse to beat in here. Shoot or Shoot, the 5 is taking a little bit of money. I actually like where Mig's going here with the 8. I think the 8 stayed in for a half is another one that is coming in from Remington Park. I landed on the 2 in here, Count the Monet, a Kentucky bred here that for Tom Swearington, who's a very sharp trainer, kind of an all-for-nothing type of horse, but does have 1 race on the wet surface that is very good. And I've reportedly been hearing, and Tom told me earlier that, listen, my horse is training superb. I just don't know if he's good enough, and that's the 2. JK, tough race here. Who did you land on?
Yeah, I landed on the 8, stayed in for half. It's actually a really cool name. In racing, a lot of times horses will sell on the racetrack, and the owner, the original owner, will stay in for a piece, stay in for half. Good name for a horse. Stayed in for half. This horse is extremely fast, and I'm a sucker for speed. You know, there is some turf sprint speed, but there's also some successful dirt sprint speed. And on a racetrack like this, you know, a muddy racetrack, I like speed even more. And I think Stayed In for half is going to find himself on the front end. I'm a little bit concerned that there's some other speed in here. I do believe that Stayed In for half is the speed of the speed, but I'm a little bit concerned about the horse to the outside, Armagnac, who I think is also interesting to use underneath. The 2, Count de Monet, I think is another one that might show a little bit of speed. That's my biggest concern. But look, you know, we're sprinting here on a sloppy racetrack. Give me the horse I think that's going to make the front, and that's the 8, Stayed In for half.
All right, Stayed In for half. We have 2 people on the show making a case for this guy, JK, a fan of this one. And I agree. The thing is, does he control here, Mig?
Well, I think he's in the right spot, though, right? It seems like more of the speed is drawn to his inside. So I do think he's going to be forward. If not on the lead, he's going to be in the right spot. I just thought he made a lot of sense. I like Paul's pick, too, Count de Monet. And at 11-1, he will be counting de Monet if he gets it done. But look at the works this horse is, you know, recorded at Oaklawn Park. November 13th, 58-2. That's blazing. You know, 5 furlongs in a minute is a really solid work. He was a second and a half faster than that, and then came back with a nice, easier maintenance kind of move, 101-2, and then that sharp gate drill, 59 and change. So this horse is signaling that he's training extremely well.
Yeah, exactly. Just will he put it on the racetrack? Because his last 4 efforts aren't up to snuff.
No, they left a lot to be desired, particularly with a horse that looked like he was on that forward trajectory, right? He wins on debut, but steps forward in the second start. They were both at Indiana. You know, you go, well, how do we, you know, match that form up with what he's going to face in a race like the Advent? Then he did that so well, and then things started to slide. Now, sometimes horses have physical issues, and they deal with things that maybe not are really serious, but they're just nagging kind of things that they just can't get past.
Very true. But we can also kind of forgive him for his turf race. Probably isn't a turf horse. And then going back to those 3 prior, he was facing some legitimate horses. I mean, you go back to the Frosted Departure race in the Renaissance. We saw him get back into form yesterday with that huge performance in a 99 buyer. And then Corona Bolt, he was good at that point in time for Brad Cox. And then Rivet, who's just turned into arguably one of the best 3-year-old sprinters in the country.
Yeah, I think you're making a very good point. And the fact that this horse has already won on an off racetrack, time off, and then training the way he is, you know, makes you feel like whatever it was that caused his form to go the wrong direction has been rectified.
Yeah, we'll see what shakes out, and hopefully Tom Swearingen has him ready. And for what he told Paul, Hopefully he's right. But going into line, we see Nautical Star holding firm as the favorite, as he has done throughout the wagering, dropping out of Stakes company. We'll see how he does if he can get back on track over this sealed surface, a surface which he's shown an affinity for in the past. As we get it out to Matt Dinnerman for the call of race 8 from Oaklawn Park.
Post 4. Armagnac. Volkit, second to last to load in, one back. Shooters shoot. We're ready to go. And Lyroff, another picture-perfect start for all the runners in the race. Stayed in half, sent along to get out there with the front. He's got a share of the lead with Vulcan, who's very quick as well. Count de Monet right inside of them. Not quite quick enough to go with the top pair. He's going to ease off to put himself in a tracking position. Armagnac now racing outside of him. There's a gap of 2 to Deflator in the orange jacket. Takes the 5th spot from Excel. And Derby Date, who's down on the inside. Nautical Star well out of it today. Must be 8 or 9 behind into the 4-turn run. Have 2 runners beaten, Shooters Shoot and Navy Seal, who's the trailer. Around the 4th turn, the top 2 flex their muscles on the lead, stayed in for half inside of Vulcan. They're right together, approaching the quarter pole with Count de Monet. No excuses, creeping in 3 wide in 3rd. Nautical Star trying to get into the race now, still has a lot of ground to make up. Gets to the outside as they wheel for the judge here. Stayed in for half, leads narrowly, but here's Count de Monet pouncing on the top pair now, and Nautical Star is finding his best stride, and he's taken off like a rocket, and Nautical Star just blew past his competition and wins going away under Chris Landeros. Nautical Star wrapped up late with the ears pricked up. He won by 5. Photo finish for the 2nd spot, stayed in for half, and Vulcan. And Derby Date ran up the rail to be involved in the minor award photo for 4th with Count de Monet.
Jumping in at the 8th pole was Nautical Star, who had to switch out from behind horses, Richie, with Chris Landeros, and as soon as he saw daylight, he was gone.
It looked like he just broke off at the 8th pole. Like you said, he did that inside-out move. Nice ride by Chris, who's really...
Yes, but at least on paper, he looks as though he might get it here. And, you know, what you said about Julien Leparoux, a lot of people kind of pigeonhole him as a take back and make one run rider, which he's, as you mentioned, is great at, but I don't think he gets enough credit for his front-running rides.
Well, when he's in front, he's going to be very tough to get by.
Yeah.
He always has some horse underneath him. And I honestly think this, and I say this with so much respect for Julien because he's a very talented rider. I feel like he lost his confidence a little bit along the way, and things just weren't going right. And a rider has to be confident. You almost have to be confident on the borderline of cocky.
Exactly. You can't second-guess yourself because you don't have time to second-guess yourself. And when you come up with a different idea, the race is over. You've just got to trust your instinct.
That split second that you second-guess your judgment, an opportunity is gone. The moment's over. And you know, we said it a little bit kiddingly yesterday, but winning the big race in Jamaica, I really think that helps a rider get to where he needs to be. And then coming into Oaklawn, getting off to a good start, I feel like his confidence in his ability is really coming back.
And Dennington will be stepping out of age-restricted company for the first time. Has been in against 3-year-olds for this entire year, which this is his 14th start of this year. He has not missed a beat all year long.
Adorable sort by Gunrunner. Gunrunner has just been amazing as a stallion as well. And Gunrunner really started to get better and better towards the end of his 3-year-old year. Right? He wound up beating older horses late in the 3-year-old year at Churchill Downs.
I guess the dam kind of maybe named Stronger Than Ever, passing on that durability in her name. I'm kidding.
Well, listen, no doubt in my mind that women are stronger than men, so there's no doubt about that.
I have proof of that. My children and I got this silly virus thing, and we were all kind of like, ugh, we feel like, you know, not well, and blah, blah, blah. And my husband told me, you guys need to get a grip of yourself. Not 3 days later, I'm so sick. I can't do anything. I just have to go to bed. And I said, that's why we have the children.
That's great.
Horse horses making their way on down the track for this post parade for the Tinsel. $200,000 on the line, contested over the 9 furlongs and currently 6-5 on strong quality. And as we were saying, this campaign that they lay out for all these divisions is so comprehensive, and it's fun to watch and follow these horses. And you just hope that you kind of see these horses meet again and again and continue on down the road as number 1 War Campaign does kick off the post parade here for Phil Simms.
Has been training up a storm at Keeneland. Look at his work, Tab, and a horse that has races good enough to be very competitive here.
Strong quality, current 6-5 favorite. He'll look to control.
Comes off a big win going gate to wire. Look for him to try to use the same tactics today.
And maybe sees the Knight as the one who sits in that stalking trip here. Francisco Arrieta aboard for Jade Cunningham.
Yeah, 2 for 5 at Oaklawn Park. We just ran the feature about Willis Horton, and that's been a pretty strong angle for us on America's Day at the Races.
It has. On his toes, though, is another forward runner in number 4, Speed Bias.
Yeah, a horse that wants to be forward, wants to be involved, and he's the horse to beat. Pace could heat up.
Ricardo Santana will be aboard number 5, Double Crown.
Yeah, it feels like he's going to have to reach down and find a race a little bit better than he's ever produced before, but not that much.
And here is the Kenny McPeak trained Dennington, who has run some fast figures as a late 3-year-old in his last 2.
A horse that's making his 14th start, durable sort, first time stepping out against elders. He's hoping that things heat up in the middle of this race from a pace standpoint.
That is your field for this year's edition of the Tinsel. And for more, we check in with Paul.
Thanks, Mags. Thanks, Mig. This is a very good edition. I thought it was a very competitive field in here. Now, a couple notes. The 4 in here, Speed Bias, actually kicked the back of his stall. That was the delay that we had a little bit. And then he had a shoe repair on, I want to say his back right. Do not quote me on that, but he did have a shoe repair. That was the bias of the part of the delay, no pun intended, Speed Bias. But when you have the 2 in here, strong quality, and the 4 Speed Bias, what gives in here? Those are 2 horses that do want to get to the front end. Ramon Vasquez has already made his presence felt. Sorry, I was starting to think I was on camera. He's made his presence felt as in he's pushing a lot of his horses forward towards the lead. Now, I don't know what happened with the shoe repair in the paddock or not. Can he push the 2? And is that number trustworthy? Here's a horse that's been on turf for a long time and then gets on dirt and freaks on the dirt and wins by a lot. I keep going back to Dennington. I like the 7 here. He's a 3-year-old facing older horses. It feels like you can launch from a farther back. 2 horses could heat up in here. It's a smallish field. He can stay attached. So I'll go with the Kenny McPeak runner, who is here on site. He wasn't here opening weekend, but he is here. I'll go with the 3-year-old. And I know, JK, you like the 3-year-old as well.
Yeah, I landed on the 7, Paulie, just for a horse I think that could probably improve a little bit. I also think he's got a style that's going to kind of set up nice. He's drawn towards the outside. He should be able to pop away from there. They should run away from him a little bit, and he should have something to close into. I'm not typically one who loves closers in dirt races. I think a lot more can go wrong than can go good in those situations. But this just feels like he's trending in the right direction. Like I said, he's a 3-year-old who's going to continue to improve. Horses like, let's say, the 2, Strong Quality, a 4-year-old. We kind of know who that horse is. The 3, Seize the Night, 4-year-old, and so on and so forth. So I think the 7, Dennington, is interesting. I wouldn't ignore the 1 if you're playing exactas, tries, things underneath the 1 War campaign. But for me, I'm going to go with the 7, Dennington. Begrudgingly, playing against the speed, but I'm going to do it anyways.
And the one thing about it, JK, the riders at Oaklawn are not afraid to use speed to their advantage, even if in the end it doesn't work out.
No, very rarely. I mean, it happens occasionally, but very rarely do you see a slow or dawdling pace at Oaklawn. Riders put their hands down, allow horses to get into their stride, and however fast that takes them, they don't get in their way as much.
Speed Bias does look very good on the racetrack, although, as Paulie said, did have a shoe repair in the paddock. Like I was saying, he's one that I think that Oaklawn paddock gets him a little revved up. It's so tight in there, and a big horse like him, they just act out because I think they feel a little bit claustrophobic.
Well, and it is. You have people slightly above them. They're almost like in a fishbowl a little bit and not as much space. You made a really good point, though, earlier about just the comprehensive series of races. And now, obviously, with the meet extending at Oaklawn, starting in December, going all the way through Derby weekend, Kentucky Derby weekend, excuse me, it gives them even more of an opportunity that these horses can match up and build up to the ultimate main event. Might obviously be the Oaklawn Park Handicap for the older horses. In the Belmont Park, the Belmont Fall Championship Series was very much that before the advent of the Breeders' Cup. And you had 3 races, a minimum of 3 races for every division that settled the championship. For the 2-year-olds, it actually started with the Hopeful, and then you had the Futurity, the Cowden in between, and the Champagne being what became the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. You had the Marlboro Cup, the Woodward, and the Jockey Club Gold Cup for all the horses. And, listen, the Breeders' Cup has been a great thing, but I really always feel a little bit bad that it was at the sacrifice of such a comprehensive championship fall meeting.
Yeah, those days were fun. But, like I said, it's interesting to, the timing of Oaklawn's meet allows them to do that.
Yep.
Allows them to kind of, have that series of races because there isn't a Breeders' Cup going. They get to start right after the Breeders' Cup and be the first ones to kind of prepare those horses maybe on 2 Breeders' Cup campaigns.
Yeah, you're right. Perfect timing for them.
They're in line for the feature. It's a Tinsel. Matt Dinnerman with the call.
Lyroff in the Tinsel Stakes. Strong Quality caught an alert beginning. Speed Bias alongside of him in the early parts. Strong Quality with the lead. Speed Bias about a half length back in the second spot. Double Crown third. War Campaign on a snug hold inside of him. Between them, Seize the Night approaching the turn. And stretch running Dennington will attempt to do his best running later. He's well out of it in the early parts. Strong Quality leads the Tinsel Stakes field around the clubhouse turn. Leads by a length. And Speed Bias decides to track on the tail of that leader's second. War Campaign still third. Seize the Night between horses and a 3-deep Double Crown the long shot. The first 5 only separated by 2.5 lengths as they swing up the backstretch, and they're 5 clear of Dennington down the backside. Strong Quality went pretty decent tempo, 23-1. Not super speedy, but decent enough, and leads by 3/4 of a length. Speed Bias on the outside, pressing mildly. War Campaign still going well down on the inside, then Seize the Night. Double Crown, the first one under pressure, has lost a couple spots under a hard ride. Dennington has yet to pass a runner, gets to the rail, and is getting closer, Dennington, as they round the far turn. Strong Quality went the half and 47-1. Now he's being confronted by War Campaign, who makes a move right up the inside with Manny Esquivel. Strong Quality's going to have to come back, and Speed Bias is sent along 3 wide at the top of the lane. Seize the Night right behind them. Then Dennington as they turn for home. War Campaign putting up a strong effort today. Strong Quality struggling. Speed Bias grandstand side coming to the furlong marker. War Campaign has put a length and a half on Strong Quality. Speed Bias continues to grind along. War Campaign has to finish. Speed Bias second best, and War Campaign ships into Arkansas and wins the Tinsel Stakes under Mandy Esquivel. Speed Bias second, Strong Quality third, Seize the Night fourth home, and then Dennington and Double Crown trailed the field.
Manny Esquivel with the rail skimming ride, and I think drifts a bit here, Richie, but I don't think outside the parameters of what's allowed.
No, I think he was just clear of your favorite Strong Quality when he drifted kind of across his path. And it looked to me like he was looking at the tire tracks from where they pulled the gate. You could see his ears come up. Sometimes horses will react a little bit negatively to it. And then drifting also a little bit from the left-handed crop. But a terrific ride from Manny Esquivel. Sitting the inside trip from the rail, patient, had the horse underneath him, always carrying him, and finished the deal. The 2 are Strong Quality under Florent Giroux. Gave up the inside, and sometimes you give horses that easy pass, and they get kind of brave and they blow up. I'm sure much to the chagrin of Ramon Vasquez on Speed Bias, who was outside him. And you can't, as a rider, yell, hey, watch the rail, close the rail.
Right.
That's an unwritten rule. You don't do that. That's poor form, but he got the trip.
Well, standing by with Phil Sims, Paula Duca.
Yeah, with winning trainer here, Phil Sims, who gets the job done in the Tinsel Stakes with War Campaign, and Emmanuel Escobar gives this horse an unbelievable ride.
Oh, he did, absolutely. The race set up perfectly like we thought. He loves the rail. He loves being inside like that. He's been training great, so we thought we'd take a shot. We brought a couple horses down. Both horses ran really well, so hopefully we'll be back here soon.
He is an honest horse, is he not?
Oh, he is, absolutely. No matter what you put him on, he tries to show up. Only bad race he ran was on synthetic, but we knew with the sill track and the way it ran last night that he had a great shot to win.
Congratulations. Go get your picture taken.
Well, as Phil Sims said, a horse that likes to run, kind of odd, too, because he looks like a big son of Declaration of War, that a big horse would like to go through the inside like he does.
It's so interesting, like the psychology of horses and how some horses almost like to be in the mix, the muck and mire, and get, a little bit mad, and it excites them a little bit more. But by Declaration of War, by Warfront, Claiborne Farm Stallion, War Campaign, this is a nice effort.
A really nice effort, because he was able to, take down the two favorites who would finish second and third in here, with Season Night rounding out the superfecta. But a nice, generous 6-1 on War Campaign as he takes down the Tinsel Stakes. More coming up after the break here on America's Day at the Races. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in here to the program, brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Naira Bets, but any track, anywhere, anytime. Check out NairaBets.com. Into the winner's circle with Manny Escobar is War Campaign, son of Declaration of War, out of the Political Force mare Flashy Campaign, and owned by his breeder, Jerry Nami, and trained to victory by Phil Sims.
Yeah, listen, it's always great to own a winner, but when you've been involved with a horse before their inception, deciding to send that mare to that stallion, and then being a part of the process every way, it has to be infinitely more satisfying. And what a nice trip and ride he was able to work out under Manny Esquivel, sitting inside, and he was best.
Yeah, saved ground and powered away from the field as Speed Bias was able to secure second over Strong Quality and seize the night. And that capped off the cross-country pick 5 between here at the Big A and Oaklawn. Fairly logical results throughout. It paid just over $2,600. What did it pay yesterday? Was it like 14? Something like
yeah, I'm not sure.
It was a big
substantial.
payout yesterday, as we had many long shots coming in, but we still owe you one more race here from Oaklawn Park. Saratoga of the South, as they like to call it. It's for the Archiebreds, the fillies, in fact, going the 6 furlongs, and fillies and mares, as it feels like a battle between the 3-year-olds and the older horses who maybe have won a couple more races, but we'll dive into it. Always a lot of chaos when it comes to the Arkansas breds. And speaking of chaos, we'll jump into the New York Stallion Series race where there was a lot of drama. We'll unpack it all coming up after this break on America's Day at the Races.
Flightline is in full flight. Flightline turns it on at the top of the stretch, and he's in cruise control.
And Flightline takes off!
Take a good look at this, because you're not going to see this too often, maybe never again. Flightline, 20 lengths clear.
World-class racehorse, world-class performance at a world championship event.
At Keeneland, a horse will always be measured in hands. Hands that see, that sense, that speak. Hands that hold our sport to a higher standard. Not for our sake, but for theirs. For the love of the horse, for generations to come.
Country Grammar, resilient, fighting back, retaking the lead, and it's Country Grammar to win the Hollywood Gold Cup.
Country Grammar getting the upper hand, draws alongside, and Country Grammar with his dates with destiny in front a length and a half. Country Grammar won the Dubai World Cup.
Welcome back to the program here on FS2. Maggie Wolfno, Richard Migliore, and Paula Duca. Jonathan Kinchin, as well as NewYorkBreds.com. They bring you our show, and we saw some New York breds on display, some young ones at that, in the New York Stallion Series. Stakes $1 million between the two races, which started with the Fifth Avenue Division, Richie, for the 2-year-old fillies. And this one, actually, fairly formful, as the horse that the betting public made the favorite, My Shady Lady, able to, again, get a nice rail skimming ride with Javier Castellano aboard and eke out the victory here for Carlos David.
Yeah, this was a really nice effort from her, but she worked out a beautiful trip, saving that ground, was able to slide through. You see she drifts out, but she's just clear of the other rivals. There was a trainer's claim we found, not something you see a lot of, but she was clear at that point. I thought Walk With Me, the runner-up, ran extremely well, further back than she probably needed to be, and even a little bit steadying into the stretch before angling out in the clear. She finished very well, but My Shady Lady, got the trip.
Also, the first-time starter that you and Sarah were both interested on in elite status, I thought ran well. You know, just got a little tired. It's tough to debut going 7/8.
Tough to debut going 7/8. Big field, but she ran extremely well. Finished third under Trevor McCarthy, and she got $60,000 for finishing third. Basically, she still has her maiden condition, but she basically won 2 maiden races today.
That's so true. As My Shady Lady, though, takes home the big pot of it all. 110,000 to the winner. Is that right? No.
275,000.
275,000 to the winner. My math is terrible. But the daughter of Solo Meany.
I do jockey math.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very adept at that
Jockey
kind of math.
Yeah,
the percentages. But going on to the New York Stallion Series Great White Way, there would be another decision that would come up to this. I still am like, oh God, with the 7, the big torpedo nearly going down there. But we would see Antonio Venice, who would extricate himself from the rail out to the 6 path here, be able to run down Brick Ambush in the end. But that was only the start of what would transpire in this race.
It really a little bit baffling, just how this whole thing played out, and was adjudicated. Antonio Venice was on the rail, and Manny Franco had horse, and he started to look for room. The 3-horse was drifting, heavyweight champ. If he'd have stayed inside, he would have had an easy run of it up the inside, and we saw the rail was good. Shady Lady came up the inside. And he angled out, made contact with the big torpedo, who was caught in between horses, and ultimately had a check. Brick Ambush, to me, the horse that finished second and was ultimately disqualified, had established his path in about the 4 path. And the chain reaction of contact, if anything, caught him in the hind end and turned him in a little bit. But he was not the one coming in putting pressure. The horse from the inside came out, the winner, Antonio Venice, and I feel created all of that problem. Now, they looked at it for a long time. The only inquiry sign up on the board was on the eventual winner, Antonio Venice. That inquiry sign came down, and then a few minutes later, they said, well, the runner-up, Brick Ambush, is disqualified. So it was a little hard to follow and keep up with how things were being adjudicated. And frankly, I disagree with the ultimate decision. It feels to me, and watching it, and I think the video backs it up, that the inside horse came out and created the jam that really affected, to me, the most the big torpedo, who actually got his feet back under him for a big colt and came running again and finished. That was very roughly run. We're very fortunate that somebody didn't clip heels and go down. And I just really have a little hard time understanding the decision process.
Dave Grenning of the Daily Racing Forum tweeting, saying that the steward said that Brick Ambush pushed Solo's Fury into Brick Ambush pushed into Solo's Fury into the big torpedo, and that Antonio Venice had nothing to do with it. Anyway, we're saying goodbye to FS2. You can check in with us back over on the Fox Sports app as well as NYRA YouTube. Thanks for joining us on FS2. Thanks for sticking with us. If you hopped over to the app or have been following along with us on the NYRA YouTube channel or your NYRA Bets account, we see horses currently in the paddock for today's nightcap over at Oaklawn. It is for the Arkansas-bred fillies and mares traveling the 6 furlongs. Optional allowance in here, Mig. And wow, I mean, looking at this purse, you know, it does pay to have a New York bred, as we saw. But $140,000 for these Arkansas-bred fillies and mares.
You know, and you can see why it pays, even if they only run during the Oaklawn, the 5 months of Oaklawn season.
Yeah, you can see why people are like, okay, we'll just turn them out.
Turn them out, start getting them ready later in the fall, because if you got $140,000 purses at your disposal, you can afford to give them plenty of time and just point for particular races.
And I think you kind of, in a way, have to decide which bandwagon you're going with here, because there's 3-year-olds that have run fast races that maybe aren't coming in with their best, or there's another step forward in them. And then you have some horses that are a little bit more established that maybe have won more than the one race. So which way were you thinking of going in this race?
You know, I tend to always go with lighter raced horses in these kind of situations. Maybe they're a little bit less exposed. I thought this was the most difficult race to handicap on the entire day between Aqueduct and Oaklawn Park.
They usually are, as we do see 3-1 on one way or another. The public going with the older horse coming out of a nice field. More on this race coming up after the break.
Drain the Clock will win and win by as much as he wants. He'll win by 6 in the end.
It is Drain the Clock who will bound home the winner in the Bayshore. Drain the Clock, Jackie's Warrior, a terrific finish in the Woody Stevens that goes to Drain the Clock by a head.
Adelphi Racing Club offers the unparalleled excitement of owning thoroughbred racehorses at a fraction of the cost. We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Our New York-based high-performing equine athletes, trainers, and jockeys compete and win at the highest level circuits. Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference, and let's win races together.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. Horses on the track for today's nightcap over in Hot Springs, Oaklawn Park. It's their 10th race coming up, going the 6 furlongs for the Arkansas bred fillies and mares, and 3-1 on number 6. Currently, one way or another, I'm gonna find you. Anyway, Randy Morris, who has gotten off to a nice start in these infant Oaklawn meet, will kick things off, though, with Gold Strategy, a long shot who just went by. Number 2, my Lassie, my girl, is a 3-year-old. Started off her career well. Can she get back to those good efforts?
Yeah, has some buyer speed figures that certainly puts her squarely in the frame.
Number 3, Mocha Kiss for Shea Stewart.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities. Does have a race under her belt, more recency at Remington Park. Will that help her go forward off of that race?
Number 4, Timbavati, fired up, could show speed.
Yeah, it was very impressive in her maiden breaking effort and hasn't been seen since last February.
Sassy Lass on her toes as well.
Yeah, I thought this horse was certainly a horse that had a look, and another one coming off of that layoff.
Yeah, it finished in front of Heated Argument, who would post a 77 in her next win, though that was back in April. And there's your favorite going by one way or another. Here's number 7, Rivercrest Girl. Is she a better turf horse?
Yeah, it just seems like her best races have come on the turf, but she's an Arkansas bred, and they don't have a turf course at Oaklawn, so give her a shot.
Amazing Debate has run some races in the past that would win this. Generous 6-1 currently.
Yeah, and again, a little more recency, right? Running in Louisiana up until October, a little bit freshened. Now comes back to her home state.
Here's number 9, Missy Piggy.
Yeah, it just feels like she's going to have to improve on dirt compared to what she did on turf, even though she is 1 for 3.
Number 10, Music Mistress, coming off a little bit of a layoff.
Yeah, another one just feels like she's going to have to improve a little bit.
There's Night Orb getting a solo warm-up from Luis Fuentes.
Yeah, it looked like she was pretty much on her toes. This is her first try against restricted company Arkansas breds.
That is an angle. Number 12, Fly Like the Wind. She has only been against Arkansas breds.
Yeah, I thought she was interesting. Nice steady work tab here. Ran well in all of her races, bar her debut. It just made sense from the outside to me.
As we check in one final time with Paulie. Hey, Paulie.
Hey, Mags. Yeah, the final race, if you're able to get alive to that pick 5, there's some nice payouts, although the 6 is very, very low, about $1,000 for 50 cents, and you think that would be paying a little bit more, but at 3-1 right now, one way or another, I like that song too. The blinkers came on 3 starts ago, and, this horse had been running at Oaklawn Park, then came out to run it in Kentucky at Ellis and Churchill Downs. Did not fare well, but this is an Archie bred, obviously. You can see that I landed on the 7, and I'm also going to talk about the 12. I've started to notice a little bit about some of these races. Now, the 12 is a filly, Fly Like the Wind, that is very, very fast and very, very talented. I know Brett Calhoun's always thought highly of her. Filly by Hightail that ran in the Rainbow Miss last year. Now she's going to make basically her, not 3-year-old debut. She was a 3-year-old, but she's going to make a start from April. I've noticed that if you're running somewhere else or you're just running somewhere and getting recency, like Mig said, you're kind of live. Now, I put my check mark on the 7, Rivercrest Girl. I don't know how far back she's going to be, JK. I just think that I'm just looking for something at a price here, JK. And to be honest with you, the 9 Miss Piggy or Missy Piggy is by 5-iron. I think I saw that episode when Missy Piggy hit Kermit the Frog with a 5-iron.
It's funny that you say that. I saw a lady last night with blonde hair and like a pink fur jacket on. Kind of looked like Miss Piggy. It was kind of a funny joke. Not like that. She was very, very pretty lady. I just meant that like the vibe, the fit. But she did. I love it. The 8, Amazing Debate, is who I'm going to go with here. This is a horse that, it just feels like the type that this feels like this race is a big full field. There is some speed horses in here. And I'm looking for something that I can trust a little bit more. This horse always kind of makes his run late, right? Second, first. And he always kind of shows up, this filly, and that helps me in a situation where I'm trying to trust these, these kind of lower level types. And so, although I'm not crazy about closers, I've talked about it before on the dirt, I do feel like Amazing Debate is that type of consistent horse that should show up and come running late. I like the draw for this horse. Like I said, there's a couple of other speed types in here, so I'm just hoping that the 8 Amazing Debate shows up. But my hunch play, I guess, is the 9 Missy Piggy.
We're all a little loopy, I think.
Been a long day.
It's been a long day. But I like it. All right, Missy Piggy, a little love from Paul and JK. But let's talk about number 12, Fly Like the Wind. You have some interest in this consistent sort who, obviously, what we said, got the break, the time off. But as Paul mentioned, is that a detriment? Because it feels like that some of these horses that got a race in Louisiana or wherever have that fitness built in coming in here.
Yeah, and I do put a lot of credence in that. I landed on the 12 Fly to Win because I liked, after her debut, which obviously she was just, green. She ran into traffic and she had a check at the top of the stretch. She took money, so obviously she had shown ability in her morning workouts. Amazing Debate, who I went back and forth about picking, Jonathan's pick, actually won that day, and that was her 3rd start. But this is a 3-year-old. And she ran well enough early in her 3-year-old year, being a May foal, she wasn't even actually 3 yet, that I think she could have done a lot of maturing and developing. So those 61 buyer figures that she, ran 3 times consecutively could be considerably higher now as a more mature type of horse. I would feel better if she had a run under her belt, but I do like that she has a steady work tab pretty much every 6, 7, 8 days out, and sometimes, they have to tweak it a day here and there because of weather, but it tells me that she's healthy, she's doing well, consistent work tab.
And we see Ramsey Zimmerman on Amazing Debate. Now, we're going to reinvent the wheel and start number 18, but I think he's a rider that will get her some forward position, as Jonathan expressed some concern about the fact that she's more of a closing type. But again, this track incredibly fair. But yeah, I think it's what you bring up about Fly Like the Wind's interesting, and she's beaten a lot of the other 3-year-olds that she faces here earlier on in the year.
Yeah, and again, I'm just counting on her being a better horse now than she was several months ago, just from a maturity standpoint.
All right, they're heading into line. I also wonder if Lassie, my girl, can get back to some of her better early efforts. She has one race out of town coming in here back in July. Matt Dinnerman has a call of the nightcap from Oaklawn Park.
Into the outside, Fly Like the Wind. We're ready to go. And they're off in the finale. Gold Strategy was off slowly from the inside. Night Orb fires out fast as an arrow lead. Timbavati right there pressing the issue from the inside and now moves forward to come and challenge Night Orb. These two together on the front end with Fly Like the Wind running in third. One way or another, a little bit keen behind the speed, taken a hold of to be level third. 1.5 lengths to Missy Piggy with Music Mistress there together. Mocha Kiss inside of that pair. They're 1.5 lengths better than Rivercrest Girl, the gray horse. She's racing 9 from the top into the far turn run. 1 length to Amazing Debate, well off the speed today. Lassie, my girl, third last. Rivercrest Girl under a hard ride at the back. She's passing Mocha Kiss, who's dropped out of it. Approaching the quarter pole, Timbavati leads by a narrow neck. Night Orb is right there. Fly Like the Wind, with no excuse, is going to take the 3 path here, one way or another. Finds a dream run up the rail. If she's good enough, she's going to try to quicken down in there. Timbavati the leader, but one way or another snatches that lead and takes the lead. One way or another. Coming on down inside, now getting outside Lassie, my girl, and here's Rivercrest Girl from far out of it, coming fast. Rivercrest Girl on the outside, it's going to be tight. Rivercrest Girl got it. Rivercrest Girl nailed one way or another in the shadow of the line with Lassie, my girl, third, and Sassy Lass was fourth.
As we've talked about before, a sealed track can mimic a turf course. Richie, as Rivercrest Girl, she had a win on a fast dirt track. It was actually pretty good, though, to be fair. Recent form a little better on the turf, but she was a multiple winner in a field where some were just searching for that second win of their career, and she comes rolling down the middle of the racetrack for Luis Quinones and Danny Pish.
She just stormed down the center of the track, and Luis Quinones, a well-timed ride. You kind of got to feel a little bit for Julien Leperoux on the 6, one way or another. Leperoux. He had absolutely perfect trip, cut the corner, and you know, as a rider, you're like, yes, I'm going to win it, and then who's that way out there that runs by you?
Rats. Yeah. Couldn't even see it, probably. But 10-1 winner to upset the nightcap from Oaklawn Park. That will do it for us. If you are searching for those official prices and results, you can go on over to NairaBets.com or on the app on your phone. Richie, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
We are going to be back at it tomorrow. We're on FS1 early, starting at 2:30. Check your local listings. And it was a heck of a day as we had some drama in the New York Stallion Series division. The favorite, though, My Shady Lady, wins the 5th Avenue portion of it. And then Antonia Venice survives a long inquiry to get the win for Rudy Rodriguez. And then over at Oaklawn, the Tinsel Stakes going to the Phil Simms Trainee War Campaign, getting the win with Manny Esquivel in the irons. Thanks for joining us here on America's Day at the Races, and have an awesome night.